first sentence of the stream, by the way. It's like, oh, hi, by the way, you can help now. Warp, warp. Hi, internet. So this is Buck. You won't see our faces today. You didn't see our faces yesterday, although I can say with complete transparency, we had a lot of fun playing. What was it? It was Card Against Humanity. It was like that Pictionary.
Game. Last week?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say we're on sabbatical so much as that we're on sabbatical. we're on a gap between our story arcs.
We're doing some restructuring.
Which goes with the overall message. It's a trying time globally right now. Definitely be safe. That includes like your mental health, your physical health, the health of your family. Prioritize. Like D&D is a fantastic hobby. It's great for escapism. It's great for keeping you sane. But focus on like the priority matters. We've been doing D&D with Arhor'ha now for more than 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's like a little bit over 5 years now. I don't know.
It's hard to say when exactly we started, because I know that we talked about it during the fall of 2014, but we didn't start playing until like really early on 2015 for season 1. And what we're going to talk about today isn't season 1. There are previous Fireside chats for that. What we're going to do is we're going to walk through like the plot and the characters and like the agendas and some of the major items that hit on season 7.
The dark times.
The dark times. The dark times.
Those were dark times?
Those were season 7 was the greatest dark times. There's so many good like memories in my mind that came out of season 7. Like one thing that we do every season is that we look and we change something like fundamental, not like something minor. If you like pay, that comment from like Pay It Forward, like it's got to be something big, something they can't do themselves. Like we don't just say, hey, we're gonna all be bards and it's gonna be like a band theme. It's normally something very fundamental. And in season 7, what we did to shift from 6, which was epic fantasy, very save the world, drop some very power ends together, was take a step back from that sort of like very tense, very high stakes world, which was exploration. Think of it going from Final Fantasy to Elder Scrolls. So with season 7, introduced some of our favorite characters that are currently hanging out with me in Chatterbee.
Hello!
Hello! Today!
Not Matilda.
Not Matilda. Matilda who had the happy ending.
Oh yeah, brother.
That sounds so wrong.
Yeah,
someone that had the happy ending.
The singular happy ending of Arhor'ha. No, so season
for
7
a gnome too.
Had wayfinders. It also, with the exploration theme, it also had a separate DM who's also with us in Chatterbee. That took away from the east of Freeport and went on an arc of epic deitic mythos adventure, kind of very I think if I had to put a finger on it, my takeaway aesthetic was very Greco-Roman, like gods are imperfect and fucking with a lot of things, and here you are like Elysius and what is it, the Argonauts, very Argonaut-esque if I go back and recall on it.
Those sound like
but I'll start with Wayfinders, because I was DMing the Wayfinder side of things. The shift was to go to, again, exploration themed, which isn't saying, hey guys, like let me get you moving and do a specific thing, and then from there you can figure it out. It's here's a lot of interesting things, and here are your characters. Do whatever you want. And the first thing I remember from that was the first thing you all wanted to do was clean a tavern. And that has become a running gag for quite some time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say it was also the first for the character that you probably know most is Sin. So her first character was Lara. And that was a bit of a move over from a few different types of campaigns. So we'll call it the remake, a Lara remake.
Yeah.
For the world of Arhor'ha. And that was fascinating, and it's a plot thread that continues to burn brightly as the stars today. You want to tell me a little bit about Alara? Give me a chance to like chug down some of this totally not vodka infused blackberry Izzy.
That sounds really
It is
good.
surprisingly delicious. I wasn't too sure how I was going to go, but it's really good.
I love blackberry flavored stuff. Good. And raspberry. Okay, sorry. I'm getting distracted. Anyway.
Let's talk about flavors for a little bit.
So Laura came over from another game. I had a general idea of the character. But because of reasons, these crazy people in this chat right now brought me over to their world. And
One of us.
yeah. And I got to play Alara Duanania in this world. She's a high elf cleric of Celestian the Star Wanderer. She's from the Elven city Elohim, which is the northwesternmost part of the map. And basically, the start of Wayfinders, she had ran away from her city. She's like, I'm done. I'm over this. Bye. Somehow survived the wasteland and ended up in Seoul. And when she was in Seoul, she ended up running into Safina. And so Safina and Alara trekked from Seoul to Verde. And Verde was the starting town that this entire party started, and met each other in this tavern in Verde for session 1. So
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
Alara Donania. Her angry Dado Nuya.
yeah.
It's also interesting. Unfortunately, we don't have the player for Safina present, and keep me honest, I think he's doing well. Hopefully, shout out to Safina's player.
He's doing good.
He's doing good.
Yeah.
Last time I heard, he is doing a lot.
But Safina's
doing
one of those
living
very
things.
interesting characters, right? That Safina had been in multiple seasons, and it speaks to the way that we structure our play, in that there are fates worse than death, but generally it's just a chapter close event. Like, you might write yourself out of the story, you might die, you might change. It just means that you are no longer influencing that specific story. But Safina went as far back as what was it, Slayers? So season 5, and then showed up again in season what?
7?
7. Yeah. Yeah. Don't confuse the poor DM with the migraine. So it's like Safina's introduction season was 5 with Slayers Anonymous, and his whole entire arc involved Balefire. And then he ended up with like this misguided or almost tricked sacrifice, but he returned both in a one-shot birthday event, and then again in season 7. So it's interesting.
Well, he was also in, wasn't he? He was in the birthday thing, but he wasn't in the other Avernus one shot as well.
He was. So he was in
Because he came over.
two one shots.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Safina has participated in quite a different variety. Like, the player itself has touched multiple plot threads, for sure.
Yeah.
He's danced around them, and we'll get to where is Safina now, because I feel like that's now a burning question.
Oh yeah.
Which we can give some answers to. So that kind of covers a bit, like Safina ran into Alara in Seoul, and they moved across to Verde. There's a Twin Cities situation. If you look up the map that we have of Arhor'ha, the mountain range, the main way through it, if you're not going over it, is going through it in Seoul and Verde. That's the most common trade route, and it really stops at Seoul, which is on the desert side. And then the really crazy people that really want to go talk with, like, the children of the atom, or Elohim, like, can go make that trek to the desert towns that are trying to survive, like Jekyll Hops that we saw in Alex's one shot, or in Elohim itself. I mean, but they're very zealous elves of fire, so not many people really make that trip for rather obvious reasons.
Funsies.
I feel like I walked in on something.
Oh yeah, so we're doing a Fireside chat.
Yeah.
We're streaming, just BT dubs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we're talking about like
Season 7.
Season 7. We're talking like, hey, there's so much stuff going on. Is there a quick way to get caught up on what has happened without having to read, was it Encyclopedia Britannica for your world? So we do like little chats. Now, that covers Alara and Safina, and the starting town was Verde. Tell me a little bit about Cass there, Alexa. Let me close my door
So,
before I get Alexa responding to me.
oh yeah. At least this time, like my character's a different name, so it won't be triggering. So I played Cassandra Avon in season 7, and she's a half elf paladin, and she is probably pretty close to the most stereotypical paladin that you will find in Arhor'ha. She had a very depressing backstory with Troy, who was her, the love of her life, and they got into a big fight because they wanted to essentially get powerful enough to help save the city that he was from. They wanted to help, take it back, and Cass didn't realize kind of the amount of power that they would need to do that. But Troy was very aware of it, so he wanted to work with the cult of Giggurath because they promised that they could give him power and the ability to kind of help free his city. And Cassandra saw them as just evil and something that it wasn't worth it, making a kind of deal with them that they could do it by themselves. If she was with Troy, they could do it, and they didn't need anyone else to really accomplish this goal. And they got into a very big fight about it, and they kind of like stormed away, and Troy went to the meeting for the cult of Giggurath, and then that is where he died, where she was not with him. And so this kind of led into a very depressing complex that she had of, I have to be near someone at all times, otherwise they will die. Like, if I'm not with them, then they will die. Like, I have to protect them. So that's when she met Alara and essentially attached herself to Alara's like, well, guess what? You're not.
I've imprinted upon you.
Like, guess who's not leaving my sight? You. And we're gonna be fine. But the whole season was a lot of her kind of coming to terms with what happened and really moving forward and trying to not be so stuck in that moment of what she felt as like failure. And really just kind of moving forward with Troy. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we find out like later down the line from her backstory that I don't know like how much we want to go into now. But essentially her Troy was killed by Ty, but weirdly enough she never blamed him for it because she understood being a soldier and duty because she was a soldier in the past. And so she understands people have orders, so she always blamed Troy and herself for not being there to protect him.
She very much took that internally as opposed to externally.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very tightly wound. Cass.
She wanted to get back to nature, though.
She wanted to get back to nature. That was
she did carry a berry for 3 sessions before deciding if she could eat it. It was a very important decision.
Did you ever end up eating that?
Yes, and I did not die.
Oh, okay.
I did nibble it, and I did not die.
Nice.
just for taste. Just for taste. So that was Cass. And we had... Keep me honest here, Ode. We had Gabe at the start. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, tell me a bit about our beautiful bouncing gnome who just can't seem to have a happy ending.
Grixel, otherwise known as Gabe, whose very name is a anagram for all of his other names, is a gnomish boy, not even past the age of 20 when he goes into Wayfinders Season 7. He comes from Crystallis, Lower Crystallis to be specific, which is essentially the garbage heap of a magical utopia that literally flies above the city itself. Gabriel didn't know much about his past when he was just when he is a little bean, and he had a very strong fascination to magic and would frequently scavenge the rubble, ruins, and garbage heaps of the magical cities and the waste to piece together his own spell book. He wasn't alone in the city. He had his grandmother, who took care of him as if he was her own son. But eventually, uh, things didn't really go well, as his grandmother, on their way to get food, was brutally murdered in front of Gabriel and in broad daylight. And Gabriel, being about 8, 10, still very young at the time, didn't know how to handle it. Sobbing, a complete mess. He tried to get help, but everyone turned a blind eye. And he spent a larger part of his youthful years until he was about 17 or 18-ish, uh, living basically door to door in boxes, and the only friend he had being a little brown rat named Yorkie, who he'd raised from birth. Eventually, Gabriel left because he saw himself being nothing but trouble, even when he felt some kind of companionship with the Lazy Mice, a local thieves guild that has spirits connections throughout the world. But he felt very much at home because they gave him some sort of companionship. But subconsciously and somewhat consciously, Gabriel developed the idea that he is bad luck. He cannot stay in one place for a very long time, or else bad things will happen. And he is consistently proven right, as he went from Restalis to New Haven, a flesh golem attacked, and he had to run away again. And that's when he went farther away and went all the way to Nexus, where this was a little bit foretold in season 6, where Nexus was invaded by the Tusculi Wasp people and Skyport, and Gabriel pieced out of there as well. But on his way between New Haven and Nexus, he did a little stop on Duodecim, which is where he met Safina. And he started, and another character that is played by Sin named Time, a fortune teller, and they had a nice little conversation where Safina and Gabe traveled up to Verde, but Gabe got into a little bit of trouble with Meg Travers, owner of Traders and Tinkerers?
Yeah, travelers, tinkers.
So,
So, I mean, geographically speaking, so for that offshoot scenario, which I guess time is what it is, haha, time, but he went south to go to do Odessum from Nexus and then went back north to go to Verde.
it
It was like a big circle.
Crystallis, then it was New Haven, and from New Haven to Odessa. But then he went with Safina and traveled with Safina all the way to Nexus.
Okay. So it was like Crystallis, because I'm a little boy, and then it's New Haven, because that's the midway point, the crossroads. Then New Haven to Duodecim, then Duodecim to Nexus, then Nexus to Verde.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Makes sense. It's a good decade worth of travel. Lazy Mice definitely have connections all over the place. So there's a lot going on for certain. And Lazy Mice, just to go down a few of these things. Lazy Mice were referenced in Slayers, the very least, as an intelligence organization, along with like Dante Leon, who was the person with the airship we talked about at the end of Slayers. Yeah, so there's just 4 at the start, and everything started effectively in a more traditional sense. We haven't done a traditional like kickoff like you are in a small town, you are in the tavern of a small town, adventure begins, which is truly like an ode to the, like Lord of the Rings when you first meet Aragorn. I digress. So everyone's in a tavern, and there's lots of people there, and there's some history between like the bartender and Cass, who had that trade caravan sort of background and not the best reputation, despite her more protector-esque inclinations.
Yeah, because she kind of took jobs where they were. Sometimes they weren't the best.
Yeah, she's this middle ground between like a mercenary to like a highwayman to like a merchant. She's just like, I fight.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Alara is a very obvious looking high elf. So that is like bad. That's like elves in Aurora aren't seen as like
really
creatures
don't like elves.
of like welcome, like, oh, it's an elf, fantastic, a celebrity has arisen. It's like, oh, it's an elf. It's like, so are you going to kill me because I didn't treat my sheep well? Are you going to kill me because I don't believe in some weird eclectic religion that you believe in that I don't believe is the many hundred years the way you do? Like, they're very extreme. So that extremity concerns people.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes to their rather haughty nature. So Alara, who's coming in here, is seeing like, oh god, what is going on here? This is bad. And then you've got Cass, who's just kind of like, you're bad news. And then there was Gabriel, who's just... Gabriel and Safina were more like the, hi, I'm here. Like
It's like, hey, what's up?
Like, just, like, rather, like, almost like the aloe vera of those two burns. Like, well, I'm a monk, you know, we're rather well thought of here. The Order of the Sun that we are. It's like, oh, cool, thank you, Jedi Knight. Like, I really could use keeping the peace. Safina was very diplomatic. Gabriel was very, you know, eccentric. So between all of that, it was just this interesting concoction of what do you wish to do from here? Here we had like a map, and there were lots of personal story threads and places to see and things to do and objectives to do. The first session was, I wish to clean the tavern. And that's how I will always remember that. That's how I will always remember that session. It's like, there's this, it's like if I went into like, if I boot up like Skyrim, and instead of like doing anything, what I did was I neatly organized my cell. It's like, I'm like, well, no, the cup has to go here. And it's like, we could escape for our freedom. It's like, but I have to clean it. I have to clean for it. I need to make friends with my jailer. It's like, your jailer's dead. I'm like, well, that's rude. But it definitely was that first, let's get our feet on the ground with our characters sort of moments. And we learned more about the connections between them, such as the blanket of Celestian that Gabriel had. That was someone that Alara was, you know, traveling in search of, like this very calling to situation. And Cass mentioned it, but the sort of imprinting, like, oh, these poor, I'm making my new mission to make sure that you don't like get stabbed by a raging elk or something.
Yeah, like, you've made it here so far. Like, please, I don't want you to die more, so I'm just gonna stay here.
I really can't remember why Safina went with you, other than Safina's amazing. I think it was...
Safina was trying to... What was it? Like, I know he wanted to adventure...
Solsera was missing. Or
and Solsera, yeah.
Solsera.
Okay, yeah. So he was very laser focused. You're right, on finding Solsera, and the last known whereabouts of Solsera, the Grand Master of his order, right, was in Verde. So he went from Sol to Verde. Sol is where the temple and where those monks are stationed out of. And he went there first, and then came back to Verde. And when he went there, it's how he met Alara. And like, yeah, we can travel the tunnel together, so on and so forth. So he's like, great, that's great. I just need to find my Grandmaster. I need to find like atonement, like he wishes to apologize for leaving the order, sort of thing. Cassius wants to protect people. Alara wants to find Celestian, and later like follow the journal that she got. That's like really kind of got her to wandering from Elohim, try to see these places and follow those sort of footsteps. And Gabriel was, again, trying to outpace his I'm a bad omen.
I know we had Brindle, but I don't remember when Brindle came in. I don't know if it was at the beginning or
He came in the Ares Forge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm trying to remember, like, I know it was, I couldn't remember when.
We didn't get a Brindle until the Ares Forge, when you had passed the forge itself, when you'd gone in. And then, because, like, he's like, how do I get in? Like, who are these people?
Right.
And so on and so forth. Which, it is a good ode to history, as we'll be doing a very similar event for the second arc, right? Of season 9. Someone will be joining in without all the pretense of the previous events.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 So we typically look to make sure people that can stick around for the whole entire season, but we understand life happens.
Life does happen.
Life does happen. So it was a rather, I wouldn't say unorganized since then. There were some major things that happened in season 7. You left Verde, and you ran across your first real gelling event. I believe was like Rock Court. Like it just got. Yep. It's like nature is like this thing. Like it's not like camping out in modern times. There are some similarities. There are trees and animals, and the forest is very, very dangerous because there are magical monsters that exist out there. And if you don't know what you're doing, your survival rates are low.
And let me tell you, Cass did not know what she was doing.
No one did. No one had survival. No one had any like truly nature understanding and responsibilities. Like they're like, I am used to civilization. I am used to books. If you think about all these people, the only person that was any degree like truly traveled was Cass, and Cass stayed on the roads. And Safina also, for the most part, stayed on the roads. They didn't go out in the wilderness.
Yeah, well, because you don't want to go out in the wilderness.
You don't want to go out in the wilderness. But that's what they decided to do. I don't remember why they decided to go out to the wilderness. I think it was because Alara, the first thing you want to do is try to go find tracks of where Solsera was. Like that was your first thing, and the tracks led out to the wilderness. So you're following that lead. To do that, Safina was a very leader-esque force towards the vision and direction of the group early on. So I think you were following that lead. I can't remember if there was another reason why, like if it was part of Alara's journal or else.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I think it's kind of the area that we were going didn't really have paths. Like we had to go.
Gabriel saw the white owl.
That's right, the white owl. Thank you. Good notes. So, like another thing was Celestian, who's the Far Wanderer. He has a white owl, and he kind of like appeared while in Verde. Left a feather, which was a nice little token too. Before you left, you also met like Mig, Tinkers and Travelers.
Oh right, he gave you the
memory
sphere. That's right. So, because one of the things that was like starting to like vex like Alara was like who had this journal, and Mig was like, I know that person, but like I respect her like wishes here. However, like she had similar concerns about recording her memories, and we had this friendly competition where she would write it down and I would use technology to record it. But that said, they're very sensitive to her memories, and you wanted Alara to have it. And he was sick, like unbeknownst to like Mig Travers was very ill. So I think that's the last anyone actually saw of Mig before he passed on.
Yeah.
Got you some healing potions on credit, and then that was I believe the last big thing you guys did in Verde.
Yeah.
We never paid them back for the healing.
Nope. And that makes you wonder, if Traver was like legit, like you're never gonna pay this back, pay it now, screw you. There's no such thing as credit when that's the realistic output that happened and probably would happen.
You did never pay it back.
Oh my god, you want to hear something so messed up? What if we never took those healing potions and Mig needed them in order to like...
Don't do that. Don't speak that into the world.
Yeah.
You put that back in your mouth. You take that right back.
I'm dying. Let me get a health potion. Oh, wait.
Oh, no, Lara. I need that health potion to live.
Oh, God.
Oh. Anyway.
Well, there we go. That's some depression.
That's the right amount of sadness that befalls the Buckland table.
It doesn't get any better in Wayfinder.
It doesn't get better. Drink your health potions. Do social distancing. Drink your health potions. So... The party definitely met Mig early on. They got some leads. They met Celestian's owl, Owly.
We saw it. I don't think we met it. We were just like, oh, that's an owl.
Yeah, it's true. I think you like saw it like out of the corner of your eyes and went to investigate it, and you got the white feather. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like a token of. again, there is a bit of a gap from like how you went from meeting an owl and Mig to going out to the wilderness. But we'll just.
I think we just decided to go out to the wilderness. Like I remember, we were like, "What do we do now?" We're like, "We're going out. We're doing it."
Yeah, I think that's what the trick was. Are you going back to clean the tavern? Like, no, we're just gonna go out to the wilderness. We'll figure it out. We're just gonna go north. We'll work from there.
Yeah, because we saw the owl and we're like, okay, well, this is pointing in this direction, and Sophia's like, oh, I think it's this way, blah blah blah, and so we're like, let's just go.
Let's just go. Well, we have a broad idea. That's how adventures work. You start with a broad idea, and you react to all the shenanigans. Your plans need be simple, reactions flexible. So you went out, and your first again gelling adventure is like just camping, and then rock court. So the forest is dark and full of dangers, but nothing more hilarious than some of the doodles and whatnot that really encapsulate the idea of camping. Like, what kind of food do I eat? And that's where Cass was like, yeah, I don't know if I should eat this. And the party's like, do you know if it's poisonous? No, then you shouldn't eat it. Familiar with like the Netflix anime or the manga, like Seven Seeds, it kind of reminds me like that. Now that I did it in reverse order, I'm like, yeah, people that don't know what they're doing in the wilderness is kind of, endearing and potentially fatal. So,
she went foraging.
She's like, I don't know if I should eat these or not, but I have them.
Yeah, and she happened to grab a baby, and it's fine.
And you grabbed a baby, and it screamed, and like its friend came up, and I think it was Alara that like whacked it into the ground, like the first inklings of sin that day, just whacked it right into the ground. That's how sin was truly born. When Alara's like, I'm over this, yeet!
Probably true. I'm trying to find the art piece I did of this. I can't find. I have one.
It's like, I did it. And then there was like, so. And then I know, like, Cass went to go to sleep, and then the rock kept making noise, and then you kept saying, like, no, there's a rock, and, like, Cass would wake up and be like, what are you talking about? Like, you were the only one that was seeing it for a while. It's like, are you okay? Are you seeing? It's fine. It's been a long day.
Yeah, let me see if I can open this without, like, completely borking something else up. Yeah, shush.
There's one I did of Cass, though. I can't fucking find it. Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts.
So this was a doodle that was done, because it was the rock, yeah.
It was like a little acorn that like came to life, and then like the little rock came over to get it, and like Cass was asleep. Alar just kept seeing a little rock moving.
Yeah, that was probably I forgot about that. It's like, is this actually happening? Is that rock moving? And it's like, yes, that rock is in fact moving. And that rock just won its acorn friend back.
It did, but you didn't let it really until eventually. I think eventually you did allow it to have its little acorn friend back.
Yeah, you eventually gave the acorn to the rock.
Yeah, and just like it just took the acorn and just like huffed off or something.
Yeah,
like,
it huffed off, like just hand in little hand back into the wilderness.
Yeah, just like because the thing started screaming like a mandrake or something.
Yeah, like that was the acorn. The acorn was screaming. Yeah. That's all I could do. It's like, unhand me. It's like, you're so cute.
And I panicked, and I'm like, with my staff, whack!
You can't scream if you're in the ground. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So it definitely added a lot of comedic relief to being in the wilderness, because the implications of assaults on an acorn. Yep.
Yep. God. I found it though. I did a real good job.
Don't eat that.
I found it. I did a good job. I foraged.
Just
yes.
It's like, but I found it. Don't eat. Everyone's like, should I eat that? Everyone was like, do not eat that. Just do not eat that.
In your mouth.
But I found it. I am good with nature. Look how good I am. I found a berry.
Yeah, everyone appreciated that she did not consume the questionable food.
Till 2 days later.
Until 2 days later. And I think that actually made her sick. So she's like, well, everyone
No,
was
it was
right.
fine. I remember it was actually fine.
It was fine?
Yeah, like she was just fine. Like she could have eaten it.
The whole
It'd been
entire
fine.
time. Right.
The whole entire time. Like she was just carrying around edible berries.
Yeah, that bothered us for a long
good
time.
time.
Like an unnecessary amount of time. Oh my god.
Everyone has their own struggles. Ours was, can I eat this?
Yeah, yours is like the struggle bus of survival. Do I eat this food? Do I not? Yeah. Before I go too much further, speaking of struggle busing, there were some cameos prior to here that I forgot to mention. Hip of Water was present, who was a character from On the Beach.
In the tavern.
He was in the tavern. Cass absolutely like scared off most of the clientele of the tavern.
They were being weird.
They were being they were being weird. Let's just go with that.
They were asking too many questions, and she did not like their questions.
No. That's fair. She had boundaries, and those boundaries were you can exist, but outside the tavern because you can't coexist with me in this tavern. And then the tavern owner kind of threw her out. It's like, no, I need customers. You need to get out of this tavern. So you had an acorn and a rock, and you had food. And the following day, you were subjected to rock court, which is one of the earlier hilarious memories, along with the acorn and the rock, was that you assaulted an acorn and a series of earth elementals that, in a very Hitchhiker's Guide Vogon way, were attempting to act civilized and put you through jurisdiction of law for assault. Now, it was interesting as the players walked through, like, oh crap, like, some characters are very lawful, some are very chaotic, some are just good beans, some are like, why does an elemental give a shit if I hit an acorn? So it was very confusing, like, well, these guys look like they could smash us into, like, paste, because they're rock elementals. I don't know if I want to fight a rock elemental. So
they were really big. There was
a lot of them too. They were really big. There were a lot of them, and they were just deliberating in a very, I believe I'm the judiciary system of this part of the forest, and you have harmed my subject in a very not polished way. And I do recall at some point you guys got a lawyer assigned to you, which was a squirrel. Yep. This all sounds a lot, now that I'm saying it again out loud, that the first few episodes of Wayfinders was just absolutely ridiculous.
What about Squirrel Lawyer?
Squirrel Lawyer, yeah. That was your appointed lawyer. And I do recall that I think at one point you saw that squirrel before.
Yep.
Yeah, well, in the wilderness, and you're like, I want a friend. That squirrel's like, no, you don't. I don't want to be your friend.
I think Gabe had fed it, or something. One of us had interacted with a squirrel, and I think it was Gabe. Fed it something, and then we came back well, here's the squirrel. And it's like, it's a squirrel.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Okay.
I think Gabe did feed that squirrel.
Yeah, I fed the squirrel.
Fed the squirrel.
Right, because could Gabe talk to animals? I thought he
could.
Yeah, so that was
his thing.
That's his thing. And then he talked to the squirrel, and we had a squirrel lawyer.
Yeah, squirrel lawyer, and the squirrel wanted nothing to do with it, and
you
kind of broke down the law.
He was very aware of his own mortality.
Very aware. Very terrified of what was going on.
I'm sure he just wanted to get back home to his family.
Yeah, he's like, I've got 8 kids. I've got to get food. What was up, Sin?
Cass gave the rock elemental a pin.
Yeah, her
badge.
I
think we found out that we could get out of it if we were able to give them something as an apology, be like, oh, but here's this, we are so sorry, please don't kill us.
Reparations.
Here is this,
yeah,
here's this great item. And it was her badge that Gabe made look a little bit fancier.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and the squirrel and the rock were very excited. The acorn was very excited about it. I'm pretty sure the acorn wore it as a badge. And that's how we got out of that situation. It's just
Then you
Yeah.
slowly backed out of the court before they decided to charge you with something else.
yep. He's like, well, all right, just gonna leave here.
That was intense.
Was
Intense times.
It was an intense time. I think it got dark quick after that. Like it started nice and lighthearted.
It was
Then
like
it got-
real life. So
then
you could
it got
feel
back
the
to our
darkness.
standard issue sadness like immediately afterwards. So
Yeah.
let's. All right. So from there, going off of Buck's memory here, you guys went northeast ish towards the forge. I don't think you guys knew you were going towards the forge.
Nope.
Yeah, but you were following like Solsera's trail.
Because
And
I know we
general
eventually
idea.
got to a cliff and we saw the forge, and that's when we realized that's where we needed to go, and it was
Yes.
on Alara's list.
Well, we ran into because we were traveling in the direction of the forge, unbeknownst to us. But then we ran into Frederick,
Yes.
and Safina and Alara
And
chased after
Note.
him,
Yes.
and Note.
And Note.
And we met. Yeah. From the top of that cliff, Safina saw the forge.
Yes.
After meeting with Frederick, and Frederick was like, looks at Laura. He's like, "Fuck that! No way! I'm out." Yeah, and then and Note, but we ran into Note before Frederick.
Yeah.
Yes. So I believe the first one you ran into was Note, like while traveling,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like it was like a lack of a warm welcome, but it was kind of very like a confused, neutral-esque, I'm gonna ignore this cat sort of thing. Because I remember he has to chase after you to like catch up before you blew him up.
No, so it was that. I mean, Cass was all about a tiny talking cat because again, she wanted to get back to nature.
Yes, that must have been fascinating.
Yes. So then we were like, "Oh, cool!" But then Safina heard something and just decided to leave the whole entire group to
I
go
remember
towards
this.
the sound. And
Yeah,
so we're like, "Well, crap, we gotta go."
I remember
to
the
Safina.
splintering of the party situation where, like, we're currently dealing with a talking cat here. Like, one, cool. Two, it's like, but I hear something over there, peace. Like, I'm just gonna go.
And we learned about how he was a High Lord in training.
High Lord in training, that's right.
And he was hunting things. So then, like, he was doing a real good job of, I think he tried to kill a squirrel, and then we had a thought about, was that our squirrel lawyer? There's a lot of existential crisis. It's like, kill our lawyer. That helped us. And then I think Cass got split from the group completely, and I can't remember what exactly it was.
Snake.
It was a
A
snake.
big ass snake.
Oh, yeah.
Cass falls, face plants, sees a small creature slithering around, and grabs your ankle. And it turns out it was a poisonous snake. And it also bit Gabriel.
Yes. So,
But you crit on it and you kill the snake.
Yeah.
so I think it was the idea that you went after Safina, but you couldn't see him, so that you
Yes,
went.
we were split up. Yeah.
So as a result, you lost like visual on him, and in doing so, you ran into a snick, and then you snicked a snick. It's gone, and I think Gabriel remained with you during that escapade. So there was like a split party situation.
Yeah, and we got back, and then I remember Gabe blew up Note, but that was a
and
later.
And Safina was chasing after Frederick,
What ended up
or
being
the
Frederick,
person
yeah.
that later was discovered as Frederick. And that was the cliffside and seeing the forge, and you know, Frederick was having a bit of a conversation with Safina regarding their order, which is why he was
like a weird conversation. I
It was-
remember there
it
was
was-
a lot of, this is weird that he doesn't know this, and we're like, what?
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of that
there's
was said.
information that he does not have that it feels like he should have, so he's just like dancing around it, being very sketch. And then like the sketch got sketchier when like Alara, Cassandra, Gabriel showed up, because you know the Alara factor. It was like Frederick's like, nope, just gonna nope out of this conversation.
Yeah.
You heard about our Lord and Savior? Nope.
Was that ever, like, explained?
Nope.
Okay.
It
We
wasn't.
still have, we still have nothing.
It wasn't explained. It was elaborated on. Like it was reinforced when you did Prison Break.
Oh, okay.
With prison, and I guess I should say the prison break that involved Nova, not the one in Avernus,
Yeah.
where you had
Gotcha.
like Diane in there, and that was like Pox like introductory like one shot, and like that piece because you had Frederick with you and Alara, and like the idea of what was going on there. It wasn't like explained, but it was there was something going on.
Yeah, because he's like weird about protecting Alara, but like keeping a distance from her. There's a whole.
It's very it's very complicated for certain. For certain. Regardless, like he noped out.
That happened.
What's up?
Yeah.
I completely forgot that happened. That like Frederick was like being weird.
Yep, this is where we first met Frederick, where he was also still being weird.
Mm-hmm.
So Frederick,
Yeah.
just in general, weird, and
That did not change.
nope.
No, he stuck to his character. Weird. Then I want to say that there was something to do with Gabriel just didn't randomly blow up Note. Like he was trying to work on his, mixing of the elements.
So,
his like
he
Lepus Renaissance.
got from Mig. He got a whole bunch of containers because like he broke a few, and like he got these like glass containers, and then he like tried to either give it to Note or do something close to it, and it exploded like just right on Note.
Okay.
Like
So,
a bomb.
Does that make
I kind of broke a few glasses because Mig had said that in the back he broke a few glasses because he was being late. Because it was not me, it was Mig because he fell. I was like, oh no, Mig, you fell in the back. And so Gabe was trying to make a few glasses, fix them up using mending. But he accidentally made a bomb out of it. It was like,
Ah, yep.
I made a bomb. You made a what?
Yeah.
And Gabriel got the bomb. He was like, huh, okay. I think I know how to use this. Then maybe Note can help. So I put the bomb like right next to me, not near Note. I just put it next to me. I was like, hey Note, can you help me with this thing? And then Note booped it.
Yeah,
Booped it
Note's
at the
like,
same time. I was like, oh god.
I'm helpful. Yeah, I'll help you, new friend. And you blew him up.
And then we got the clip. Gabe,
Like you blew up the
Don't blow
Yeah.
up.
why did you blow up the cat?
Why'd you blow up the cat? Yep, and that was from the montage. So the origin of that scene from the montage was this.
God, I love.
Why did you
That
blow
was
up
my
the cat? Yep. So after blowing up the cat and seeing the forge and that's where we're going now. The party had to camp. I think we had I don't think it was here. When you returned to the cliff, you had a lengthy conversation about funeral rites and making
That's
later,
because
right?
that was with Solsera.
That was with Solsera, correct. So they went down, and you had your first real I'd say scary combat, and leaned into something we were doing that season, which was the idea of combos, where players working together can do interesting things. Something we later adopted in future seasons in a bit more robust way, but its seedlings came there. Because I do recall the Polaris effect. That
we came across Displacer Beasts.
And how Alara and Cassandra were tied together, and how her protector stance, her sacred weapon, worked really well with Alara's. I think anything, but I want to say it was guiding bolt or bless.
It was, and I think I'd be blessed. And so then when I went to go attack the Displacer Beast, it lit it up so that people could hit it.
Very fairy fire-esque. It gave them a very personal fairy fire effect where they're kind of glowing. So you ran into Displacer Beasts, which came to a number of very visually pleasing moments, such as Gabriel and Safina's hood, like a turret, like a tent turret.
Yeah.
Just pew-pewing, I think it was Firebolt as Safina's fighting. There was the moment where the Displacer Beast was just eradicating. I think Alara was trying to slide underneath it and it didn't roll well. So Cassandra having to do the Heroes of Middle Earth's thing, where sliding down in there with a shield to kind of get between it.
Yeah, and then it grabbed Alara, and then I critted it with a stone.
With a stone, yeah.
I just threw a rock at it,
Oh
like,
my God.
no.
Crit it with
Oh, no,
divine
please don't make
smite
me
stone.
cry.
Yeah, it's where Alara got the chance to briefly either hallucinate / meet Celestian because
yeah.
she was being like suffocated, like constricted with displacer
And then
beast
had a weird
tendrils.
death wish after that. Do you want to talk about your
Yes.
weird death wish? Because you're like, well, I got to see Celestian, so those are the situations I need to be in. Like, no.
Oh yeah, because I was like, is this how I have to? I can see him as if I just like kill myself. This is some
It's fucked
dark.
up. Welcome to Buck's Table and Aurora Adventures. If it's not bittersweet, we're not doing it right.
Yeah, because I was being like put unconscious because the displacer beast was like wrapped around me. And I was being suffocated essentially.
That's right. They got smoten. Got
Oh
smoten.
God, I was so
Smoten.
sad. That was really heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was all rainy.
It was, and you're
and-
covered in mud, and you were dead beast next to you, and just met Celestial. Yeah, it has a very like Blade Runner-esque like thing to it. Very sad.
I have a picture of this.
Do you?
Yes.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm throwing them up on stream.
Oh. Okay, hang on. Where is it? Oh no.
You can do it. I believe in you.
I believe I can fly.
I think this was the start of when we started getting Sin's doodles as we did stuff.
Yeah.
We started
Alright.
seeing them. I think they existed prior to.
Oh, yeah. Well, because, yeah.
Yeah. There are more and more doodles, and there was a really good doodle for season 6 of like the IO. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
God, that was...
But we're talking about season 7. You know
Yeah.
IO's sorry. She'll always be sorry.
Always. The player will always be sorry. I'm going to live just in a perpetual state of just
Just shame and sadness.
guilt.
That's D&D.
That's D&D.
Oh my God, this drawing is so bad though.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's pretty bad.
Okay. Oh, this is your version.
God.
Pretty bad. Let me tell you the doodles that I draw.
That's like a really. Oh boy. Oh yeah, I drew.
Yeah.
That's another doodle of Gabriel and Yorkie.
Yeah.
I forgot well, correction. I didn't forget I had it. I just, this seems relevant.
Yeah. Like that's why it's interesting in these fireside chats of all those memories that we just forget that come back.
Yeah.
Like that scene was like so impactful. I'm like, oh yeah, Alara really did take that displacer beast like event really hard.
Yeah. That's when I first learned I can cry in my shower.
That was my first shower crying session.
Oh man, never forget.
Season 7, never forget. Well, this is how we never forget. We immortalize it into a recap fireside chat.
Are you really playing D&D if you're not crying in your shower after each session?
True.
So speaking of tears, the party continued to the east to go towards the forge, and that's when everyone met at least 2 characters. So you got outside the forge, and that's where you saw someone that was very like bandaged up, having a convert, which is later discovered as Ty, like much later discovered as Ty. But this big sort of like warrior talking to Gig, who I feel like we've explained like 1,000 times over, so I'm not going to go on like who is Gig. But Gig,
No, please do.
he's wonderful. He's one badass motherfucker. He's a very Faustian deal maker. So he's there like antagonizing Mr. Man in Bandages about things. And the party is like, oh, we're going to be smart about this. We're going to hide and eavesdrop. I was like, okay, that's commendable. Don't like walk in there like hi, let's talk. And also
Hey,
not
buddy.
like, I feel like we could gather useful information because we don't know what we're doing right now. Let's just, arm ourselves with information. So you hide, you listen, you do a pretty good job with yourself. However, it's Gig, so like, he just walks on over afterwards, after he's done having his conversation with Mr. Bandage. and has like little names for everybody as he's talking to them.
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna go with the my brain here, remembering what they are. I know that Gabriel was called Little Bunny, like Little Bun Bun.
Mm-hmm. Which has a whole other meaning now that when you read more prose.
Yeah. Now that there's more
sad.
prose, it's very, very, very sad. Definitely check the World Anvil for, some of the stories regarding like Gig, and yeah. But Gabe's Little Bun Bun. I think pretty sure that called Cassandra the North Star and called Alara the New Star.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say Safina it's very specific. It was edgy. It was like Dark Star or Infernal.
Yeah, because
like it
was like Dark Star or something. Yeah, because he was very like void stuff that we later found out.
Very, very void soul, right?
Anti-star.
He's like this, the anti-star. You only would exist for a lack of other stars around it. Yep. So he didn't refer to them by their names, but these sort of like glib titles, which for Gig is really par for the course with his mannerisms.
Mm-hmm.
But he was very candid, and he scared the shit out of Alara because he had grand interest with her necklace.
It was like Alara and Cass, like they both did not.
Yeah, we wanted
do
nothing
well
to do with Gig. Yeah,
Gig, because like Cass almost immediately could get the connection of Gig, cult of Gigarush, so she was like, nope.
Yep.
Like, whatever this is, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to have any kind of conversation. Like, this is not a good direction that I want to go.
I want nothing to do with you. I wish to express a boundary, and I would like you to appreciate this and respect my boundaries. Of which Gig doesn't know anything about that, so he didn't. So, like, to the point of, like, patting Gabriel on the head and giving him a rock. Like, he gave Gabriel specifically something, because it became very iconic to the very first time that any player has seen someone both make a pact with Gig and break a pact with Gig without, like, catastrophic consequence.
Well, you know how everyone's like, hey, this guy is bad, and Gabriel's over here like, but did you know he helped me diffuse some soil and gave me nethicite?
Oh yeah, because
Should
he
have had
was
to use
like
his powers. Yeah, that he was able to extract core elements out of other things, and from like extracting them out, like using them to build other things. So something very unique to Gabriel. So he's like this the land that you're currently in is filled with very negative type energy. Common mineral that was called nethicite. So Gabriel's familiar with nethicite from his time in Duodecim, and it's like, hey, this is something that you can do, but you've never had anyone like show it to you. I think you've always like thought about it. Here's what you can do. And then it's like opened up a whole entire new world of like, I can do this to anything. And and Gig's like, that's right, little bum. You can do this to anything. The world's your oyster.
But then it kind of got bad because, well, after Gabe had like separated the soil and like the negative energy, he tried to turn it into radiant energy. But the Gig was like, buddy, you can't do that. Can't unless. I just thought that was a fairly interesting because I felt like, I never thought, wait, is this possible? Like it's like one of those times where Gig's thinking, maybe.
I know there's like a whole thing where we thought that like Gig was your dad. That was a whole thing for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cass was very much like, just stop it.
Just stop.
Just stop dealing with Gig. Just stop.
I mean,
devil dead.
I mean, if your grandmother gets murdered in front of you, you don't know your actual father. This man shows you some really cool stuff, and also he patted your head. He gave me head pats.
That's right. He is the closest Gabe has a father figure now, which is kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
So there was that moment. I don't think there was much to do with Safina on that specific note of interaction.
Not that direct one, no. Like they've that later on.
Later on for sure.
I think it was the first time he went starless.
Oh yeah, because he was he was dazed out. That's a good
right.
point.
So he was not doing anything. He was just like standing there living his life.
He was like a mindless puppet. He went starless the Panther fight.
Yeah,
Displacer Beast fight. So the thing that we didn't really cover with Safina is that like everyone in Aurora, when there's something very unique about how they work. With Gabriel, it was the idea that he sees things almost scientifically with like how minerals work, almost elemental in nature, and sees how to bring these elements together to create magical things, very like an artificer, but not quite. Something different, something he invented. It's very unique. Whereas Cass was very Protector-esque. I would say very Joan of Arc. Like the thing that was unique about her was like to the degree of like this seed of purity, despite like in at the center of a tempest. Whereas Alara, well, we discover more about her situation later, but like she effectively is like beholden to this deity that she's enamored with, like to a paramour level. Safina is interesting in that he is able to dip like his inner energy, his ki, to the point where it goes negative. Like, it becomes very Void-esque. That's the whole entire comments of the Void Soul. But it comes at a great risk, tapping into those reservoirs of energy you don't seem to have.
I feel like at this time we should also point out that in many we had one-shots in Avernus, and Safina died in one of those.
Yes. So there was very much concerns
alive.
like something's very wrong with Safina because everyone watched Safina die. And now suddenly the thing that he can do that makes him unique in this season is he can go, like, pull on energy he doesn't have and become what's called, like, starless. Very edgelordy. Very, very edgelordy. Let me get both of these beautiful pictures up. I'll start with the Celestian one. They are doomed because I felt like every now and then I would just look to that and be like, yep, you've committed a crime! They're doomed. They're just...
It's like, here, let me send my familiar owl thing to guide you to your destination 5 seconds into the wilderness. You've committed a crime!
Uh-oh. They're doomed. Plus that facial expression for Celestian is just a classic. It's like, very, very Palo judgment. Yeah, so going back to that, he was in Starless. Safina was in Starless. I completely forgot about that. He did go Starless so he was very, like, just out of it, like, in a trance state. And during the interaction...
We had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Oh, and Cass and Safina couldn't touch each other.
Yes!
Yeah!
They could not touch each other. That's right. If they had any physical interaction, it was bad. Like, painfully bad. Like, two magnets getting close to each other. Like, atom bomb bad.
Yeah, I remember, like, shocked. Like, at first, it was just, like, touching an arm. Like, it shocked. Like, all right, not touching Safina, then. Fair enough. Just...
That was bad.
Yes.
There are a lot of deaths.
Yes. I believe towards the end of it, Safina did come out of Starless with Gig's help. Or maybe he came out of it naturally. I don't quite remember.
Well, because I think it was a matter of time. Like, he was absorbing, like, life. I remembered that. Like,
yes,
he would go out
that's
and,
right.
Like, suck out life out of, like, a tree, and he's like, all right.
Yeah, because Gabe was
happening?
going through experiments with him. Like, he was putting, like, little elements, like, of, you know, the four primals to see what the reactions were. So he was, like, going through different sources of energy with them. He's like, okay, what happens if I give you, like, something that represents fire? What if I give you something that represents earth? What if I put some water in your hands that represents water? And then it was when he gave something that represented life, like a plant, it just sucked all of the life out of it. Like, became like a withered leaf or branch.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was really interested in, like, an object I made with, like, Fey energy.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Which we were explaining as, like, life, like, not quite radiant, but, like, life energy. It's like, yep, just sucked it right out. Like, oh, well, good to know. We just feed him the life energy, and he'll be okay. Or he'll get worse, we don't know.
Got him out of it. Yeah, like, he needed to get enough, and that's how we got him out, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it was, like, the idea if he went negative, so you need to feed enough to balance him back out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he walked up a tree, and the tree died when he came back down.
Yep. Just killed a tree.
Which also brings a whole bunch of other meaning to what we later did in this season.
Yeah. Yep. Everything's fine. Just random darkness. So you guys went to the forge. So where you were going was the Dawn Forges. And you had spent a little bit of time getting inside. Like, there was a degree of a puzzle to get in. Like, it was very defended. for sure, which was funny. The thing I remember most about that is I think was Alara was like spinning like atop of the staff. Somebody was
ping
spinning.
pong.
Like
It
ping
was like
pong.
yeah, because there was all these runes and she like got stuck in the rune thing, so it like bat her around and then she ended up in this like one spot where she was twirling around and we had to like catch her and get her out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like stopping a fan by putting your hand against it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was funny. And eventually got past that and inside. And then you met Mr. Man of Bandages again because you camped in while you were investigating the forge. And the forge had a lot of like different rooms. So let's think of like a warehouse and there are like things inside of it. But the corridors themselves had these lines of energy. It was felt very alive. Before I go on to that one, because I know there's a doodle. Let me get Gabe's up.
Let me find the doodle.
Oh yeah.
Because there was the Sentinel, the Golem situation. But you ran into Mr. Bandages again, who introduced himself as Tarkin. And I don't think he really talked about like why he was there per se, so much as
he needed something.
He needed something that was in there. Yeah, like he was on a mission that he needed something in here, and I think what was it? As Sin said, he stopped being as much of an asshole and was kind of like that very like older brother person, like having very hard conversations, but with everyone, like with Cass and with Lara. I don't think he had much from Safina or Gabe per se. There was a little bit, mostly like what's up with your bandages and stuff, like what's up with your situation.
Yeah.
But
because when he was talking to Gig outside of this place, when we first ran into him, the eavesdropping that we got
It was like a very tiny bit.
Yeah, but there was a pocket watch involved, and he's like, contact me if this gets close to 0 or something.
Yeah, I forgot about the pocket watch. Yeah, effectively, and his general response is, I don't need your assistance. I'm not going to use this anyway. And he's like, I was like, tough, well, you have it. Whether you use it or not, that's up to you, devil on your shoulder. And kind of like, hey, why were you talking to Gig? What's all that? And I don't think he revealed a whole lot in that interaction. Other than the fact that, like, hey, be on your guard. Don't trust Gig, stuff like that. Stuff that was pretty, I would say, well known, like was common knowledge stuff.
Yeah.
And that he's a proficient fighter, so he's not concerned about doing what he's doing by himself. You guys went through the forge, and a lot of the season 7 did involve the forge, probably about half of it, at least.
Yeah, it was a good chunk.
A good chunk of season 7, effectively, is where we're recording now, which is the Dawn Forges. So it behooves me to aside and say, what is the Dawn Forge? So the Dawn Forges are hidden in northern Arhor'ha, and they're used to like create various things. As like the idea of a forge would. There are 12 of them, and from times of Pilgrim, they're aligned to the ideas of the Zodiac. So the Ares Forge was you build things for war. The forge that everyone walked into first was very the end, which is Pisces. So very emotional, very water-based. It had some of the better visuals, like mental visuals, of being underwater with like little light jellyfish floating everywhere. It was very peaceful. It wasn't very high stakes or dangerous per se. But before you got there, you did run into the things that traverse the... Okay, look at that laughing. That traverse the hallways that they are in. They kind of like keep them like repaired or safe or clean, and the party itself while investigating these lines and the wall noticed there were like grooves where things could like slide around, like rotate 180 degrees, and out was one of these guys that started walking and like, oh look, this is Bad News Bears. I've got something to do. And they're like, oh shit, we need to kill this thing. So Gabe puts a box on the Ted's. Like, I can't see now. It's a box. Just minor illusion of box on its head. Hence this doodle.
I remember we learned that, like, you don't need to fight everything. That was a big lesson that we learned. Because I don't think we defeated it. Like, we just had to let it go.
Yeah. You absolutely attacked it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We learned that, like, it'll attack if it's being attacked, but otherwise it has its own things to do.
Yeah, it was a minor lesson in just because something exists doesn't mean you aggro it. Because it was walking around, it had things to do, and then everyone attacked it, and it attacked back. At somewhere along the encounter, like people stopped attacking it, like pulled away, and like this isn't very helpful. Like I don't even know why we're attacking this thing.
No, I don't. I think it was this one where Alara did the spiritual weapon thing.
Yeah, you're right. That's
and
the
it
first...
chased. Yeah.
I remember this. Yeah, so Alara's spiritual weapon came out to be like the Elohimian Elvish warriors wielding a spear, like Nuya's spear, which is very common for like the holy warriors. So like instead of a spiritual weapon, it was more like a spiritual person that wielded the weapon, which is pretty cool.
And so it chased. I sent that thing like away.
Yeah.
So
So it
it went after it, right?
Yeah.
Because
so
that was the last
whatever
thing.
aggroed it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I remember that. Yeah. And I was like, cool, well, it's gone now. Times are good.
It's gone now.
Times are good. Then you guys found the Pisces Forge.
Yeah.
Did we find the Pisces Forge first, or the Aries, or the other one? First?
I don't remember. I feel like you found the Aries Forge first. Okay.
Yeah, we found.
You end up finding 3 forges in total. You went to
yeah.
Aries, Aquarius, and Pisces.
I think we did Aries, like we did the stuff that we were supposed to do first, and then after that we spent a little bit more time just exploring the forges, and we went to a couple other ones.
Fair enough. All right, so Aries Forge. So you guys went around the forges, and you noticed that when the these corridors intersect, they're a bit challenging. Like they enervated people, like really made them sick. I think some people were drowning, like or representation of drowning.
Yeah, it was like heat
or burning. Yeah, like they were crossing the Sahara.
Yeah.
So like traveling through the corridors wasn't safe. Like it wasn't meant for mortals to be walking around like whoop-de-woo, for sure. So you had to manage to navigate around and find the Aries Forge first, which was already opened, and getting into the forges requires some degree of offering. So it was already open. Someone was ash, so someone had burned to death to get in, which, well, it wasn't gone too deeper in. So yeah, someone from the resistance like burned to death for the door to open. And it started at a stalemate, and that's how we also, around this time is when we got Brindle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So finally the Safina found Solsera, because Solsera was there, and Solsera was trying to negotiate with, I believe, Elisa, the person who like broke off and was running the resistance for the occupation of Nexus. And they were saying that, they need to do this so that they can free Nexus from occupation. And Solsera was like, we don't do that. We stay neutral in politics. We help the people, not the politics. And like they had an agreement to disagree about things. You guys learned about like Solsera's like sins, for the lack of a better term. About how she was like, although she's like this Jedi Knight, like good person, just this general good being of a good being order. Like she's not doing it because she's just that wonderful, but she just feels like that's what she needs to do, atone for her sins.
Right.
And I don't remember if she went into detail of what exactly happened during season 7, but it was definitely very haunting. Like she found like an innocent person, like her and Alara's father, which I also think was referenced in that chat. They were both there, and they had to like torture someone for a while just to prep a weapon to fire it on like a town. And effectively, what Elisa was doing, having known this, was the same thing, but to fire it on Xanthriel, the people that were occupying Nexus. Because if they were attacked, they would have to pull their forces out of Nexus to protect their homeland, which would free Nexus. That was her argument. So everyone had like a very philosophical, like moralistic, like where do you stand on this problem?
And I think for the most part, like the struggle we had was trying to figure out what to do. Like, we didn't want the weapon to go off. Like, I think they were trying to convince her to stop, like, to get out of the weapon, but she was already in there. And so then it was just more of a, like, we can't do anything until she goes up to the top and, like, goes to set the weapon off. So then we were trying to figure out, like, well, can we change where the weapon is being sent so that we don't kill as many people? Because, like, Cass definitely didn't want the weapon to go off because it was going to kill no matter where it went.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to kill a lot of people, and then we kind of had the realization of, like, well, you can't really, like, it's not like a typical cannon where you can be like, well, we're going to shoot over here. Like, it targets on a person typically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly how it worked. And that's what they mentioned, like the idea of needing to prep the cannon. Like Soul Sarah mentioned, you can't just point at the earth and say, I'm going to target here. It's not like a ballistic weapon. It's a weapon that uses like divine, like primal types of energy. So it's going to target a very specific person.
And it's someone that's typically close to the person that's in the weapon, correct?
Yes. That's how the targeting piece works. Right.
And it was going to go after her father?
Correct.
Xander.
Yeah.
Because Elisa was like, well, that's great. That's someone I'm close to. That's the reason why, like, I left. It's like, so I have no problem killing my unrelated blood relative. Like, I know who Xander is. So it's just like, well, it's like, it's not as bad. That's kind of like her argument, too. It's like, I'm not finding an innocent person to target the weapon. It's like, I know that that's me.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, that's great. I'm glad that you're so self-sacrificing, you damn martyr. But when this thing goes off, thousands of people will die around him.
Yeah.
So, I believe everyone's ended with, like, the idea that they were trying to, like, reduce the power of it to reduce the casualties as much as possible, or stop it from firing altogether.
Well, and that's also where to bring in, because we had Brindle come in that part, and he was part of the resistance that was with Alicia, and they kind of asked him to join. I don't think he knew fully what he was getting himself into, but he was a rogue and good at getting into these kinds of areas, so they brought him to help get into the forge.
Yeah, that's right. The Hobbit effect. Like, I need a burglar. That's right. He was part of that. He was part of Alyssa's group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in true, Roaring Adventures fashion, the Buckland table, things just got sad and sadder, and as sad as sad can be.
Have you heard of depression?
Have you heard of sadness, my old friend? So we progressed through the adventure that was, ascending the forge, which was fun. Everyone had very unique quandaries that they had to do. Like 2 people were allowed in each section, like a circuit. And they were, like, tempted with, like, I'll call it, for lack of words, like, bloodlust or, like, warmongering. Most people rejected the concept. Like,
yeah.
There were a few people that did, and unfortunately forgotten his name, but it was the guy who had, like, the flaming spear and shield. He became Alexander, correct. So Alexander definitely accepted the offers of war. A very Dian-like character, very a flaming spear, flaming shield. I don't know if
and we had Note with us.
You had Note,
or was it Agma guy?
You had Note. Yeah, no.
And there was a fish.
There was a fish. There was a fish. And again, I don't think it was revealed here too much, but in later prose it was leaned into that Alexander was one of the people who was there when Iolanthe, like, abandoned everybody on that front. So, like, Alexander was very I wouldn't say
and Gargax.
No, and Gargax, yeah, both of them. Gargax was there too, part of the resistance.
Yeah, thanks, Juniper. Forgot his name, but he was in there.
Old friend Gargax, which has, like, so a lot of more tie-ins. So we'll go with Alexander for a moment, because everyone had these sort of crises of decisions, which they all, again, mostly said, I don't think war is the right solution. But Alexander was part of the party, along with like Gargax, that went and tried to raid and defend the eastern front of the Great Game in season 6. Now, we talked about it in a previous Fireside chat that place was like largely abandoned. So it's kind of like sending an army to go die. So while they were going out and saying reinforcements are coming, there was a battle plan for this, they were just left to get slaughtered. Alexander and Gargax like lived throughout this, but Alexander definitely was not the same, but because of like what meant like that the occupation, the fact that this happened, now Nexus is like enslaved, like all the promises that the Iolanthe and Tai, like the Targaryens, like new alliance, like the new hope, was kind of like very bitter in his mouth still. So he's like, yep, well, I'm a warrior, this is what I do.
On my deathbed, I'm gonna have guilt about this.
Yeah, well, you later like killed Alexander, so we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So Alexander was like, here's the option. You can choose Peter was like, I'll take war. I'll take that spear of fire. Thank you. I'll take that shield of fire. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so he took like everything.
He took everything he could that
but
was offered
we
him.
only gave him one option, I think. Like, we only gave him the choice to go once.
He went twice.
But like
there was
he went twice.
He went twice.
Oh, okay. And one was like fire something, and
one was a spear and one was a shield, and both of them were very fire oriented. So he became very Spartan in nature. Like when you think of like a Spartan warrior, like the helmet, the hoplite, shields, and spear, and very strong.
I'm not positive, but I think Gabe was with it. Like, I remember Gabe got something because he asked for nothing.
You got a prism.
Safina and me asked for nothing, thinking that nothing would happen, but then we actually just got orbs of nothing. But that's for later.
Yeah.
Like effectively, there were, I want to say 8 to 10. Let's see, 1, 2. There was 8 total. Yeah, 8 total trials, in which 2 people went in for each trial. And you're right, one was a fish. I'd have to go back to that specific season to remember what all they were, but they were very personal. Like, that's how I remember that Brindle was in there, because he got, like, designs for an airship, like repairing an airship, along with, like, Captain Agma guy. Like, that was his thing. It's, like, airship, like, something that will help you repair an airship. But I think I'm pretty sure they declined. They ended up with a case. Like, the alternative was, like, bad, like, nothing great. And it was like a map
because what ended
case,
up
very cylindrical.
Yeah, what ended up happening, and this is again afterward, is most of us did not grab the items that were presented to us. Mm-hmm. But afterward, Gabe was able to grab some of them and restore them to something.
Yes.
Because they were essentially junk, but he was able to use his ability and make them into something a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So that's where we started getting the items.
You started like reconciling down. They became junk, but because you had Gabriel with you, he like sparked, like gave some new life to them to give them some more function. Yeah. So I remember there being like
there was a Tovian. I'm so sorry.
There was an Tovian. Holy hell, yeah. And a Tovian like goes as far back to decisions that happened back with Phalor, like to allow the Atovians into Arhor'ha.
Because he was a monk, or he was in the...
He was a monk. He was Otto. His name was Otto.
Otto.
Otto the monk. He still lives today, last I checked. I haven't, like, murdered him or anything.
Good job, Otto!
Good job, Otto!
You're doing good,
still
little Otter.
Order of the Sun Otter monk. I'm trying to remember if there was any other, like, key items that came up.
Did I get a crown or something?
Well, yeah, like there's things that showed. So like the way that it worked was it would ask you like what do you want, or like it would show you a scene and you'd say essentially like what you would want out of it, like to be more protected or something of that nature, and then it would show you an item that would help you do that. So I know Alara and Cass were together, and I think it was either a sword or armor, because I know Cass saw a sword and armor at the 2 different times.
Yeah.
And Alara, it was a crown that showed her.
And a staff.
It was Yorkie got a
helmet.
Oh yeah, Yorkie got a little helmet.
Little rat helmet.
Otto got a worn staff. Cass got got plate mail. Alara got a staff. Brindle a scroll case. Fish bones.
For Note, yeah.
And an unlockable box.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, right.
That
Oh, and then it just
insanity.
turned
An
into
unlockable box.
Yeah.
Nothing will piss off like a dwarf like Brindle more. It's like, you can't unlock this box. Like, well, challenge accepted. Every lock can be unlocked.
And then you just like converted it into like a container, like a wicker basket or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you gave it new life, it's like, well, I can't do anything with an unlockable box, so now it'll just be a wicker basket of something.
Yeah. But then we had the other section were like these. Some of us got these like memory things. So like Cass had like a vision.
Oh yeah, with Troy going down, like the fires and
Yeah,
whatnot.
where she saw what
Yeah.
actually happened. Yeah, because that was kind of the thing of when you're looking in, it actually shows you certain situations. That's where she first saw what actually happened to Troy.
Oh,
Troy.
Junie has a great memory. So specifically what Brindle wanted, thank you by the way, Junie, was he wanted something that all of his stuff could be placed in and could not be retrieved. Very rogue, right? So like a super safe. But
Yeah.
the dick move out of it was like, great, it's super safe that you can't even get into because you're part of that something.
Yeah, so I remember. So yeah, Cass saw what happened with Troy and learned that it was Ty that killed him, and like kind of how it went down. Like she always thought, or like kind of showed that he was trying to fight to save the people, and that's what brought him down. Not that he was like.
But
That-
didn't because my
Secret.
notes here for your vision during that mention like you saw the ritual of like the white hair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I saw the whole event, which showed the meeting up until the point where Ty and his army like invaded the area. So it showed essentially the cult of Gigrith, and that's where Troy went in, and they would take children or like younger people, and they would like dip them into this blackish brown substance.
Black soil.
Oil.
Yeah,
Soil, yeah.
black soil. And then they would emerge and like their hair color would be different, and they would kind of say what they were. And I think someone came out with white hair and it's like, oh, you're a builder. And then right around that time is when then Ty invaded.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, Ty was just killing everyone, like the women and the children, and Troy was trying to stop them from being killed, and he did like a one-on-one battle with Ty, and Ty killed him.
Yes. Ty murdered him.
Yeah, and
there's
then I know
pros for that, I believe, too, that helps explain a little bit.
yeah,
It's
Monsters
called
and then
Monsters Die Alone. Yeah.
And then Alara also had a vision about her area, but like a different race. I can't remember exactly what her.
Hers
Was trippy.
hers
Actually,
was
go ahead.
was Lara was like the other version of herself.
Mm-hmm.
Burning like her standing there in like ruins like a wasteland, and they're being like, I have a mixture of both blue dragonborn and half elves.
Yeah,
But
Yep.
this Lara was like sun elf looking. But she had like tall she looked just like Alara. But she was standing there, and I think she was standing there and she turned and looked to Alara in this vision and was like, don't make the same mistake that I did. I think that's what happened. I don't know. And Brindle had a vision with Note, and there was a pirate hat.
Yeah. After all these like deep things, like this is how your love dies. The ultimate you. Do not make the same mistakes. And it's like do 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 do. Captain Hat. Well, Note. Yes, meow. Are you ready for adventure? Meow.
oh right, because Note liked to sit on top of Brindle's head, and we learned that at some point. It's like this is a nice sitting spot right here.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So not all of them are like super grimdark. The one with Brindle and Note was rather endearing.
So cute.
Yeah. And like Safina and
Gabe.
and Gabe both were kind of like very, very structured in nature, from what I recall. Like Safina didn't really want for much of anything.
Well, he did want the dragon size.
He did want the dragon size.
Always.
That's the quest that never completed. It makes me so sad because he wanted him so badly. It's like, I want these size. Then like, I can't say yes though.
He did get him. I just kind of blew him up afterwards.
Yeah, it was so close because all these like the wicker basket things, they weren't just like handed to, and it was part of the experiment. Like, well, what if I do this to this? I'm like, well, you do this and it explodes, and I just remember Savannah like, no,
his one desire,
my one ask. Yeah, the ultralogical dwarf was the comic relief for a lot of the season. That is very true. It's kind of like I think Miri mentioned it once as a trope, like the everyman or like the straight man who's just like very matter of factly, but ends up being so funny when you think about how ridiculous the situation is in a fantasy context.
Yeah.
I remember his was. I mean, this wasn't part of the like gaining things, but Brindle could essentially, like, if he spent enough time and like looked at someone, he could carve something out of, I think it was stone. Like he would carve statues out of stone, and it would reveal to him a secret that they have been hiding.
He was a keeper of secrets. Like he was able to like, he didn't really know what they were until he was finished doing the carving, but like it spoke to him. It was like his muse. Like everyone had that unique thing. Brindle was like this very unique truth seeing activity. And he was very methodical about how and when he used it. But it was very interesting. I know that the first time it was used was to find out more about Soul Sarah. Like, well, I have some time to do this. Like, I think I want to know more about the WTF-ery of Alisa and Soul Sarah, which got her talking about, I tortured and killed a small innocent child just so that we could, quote unquote, end more suffering. It's like, I don't feel good about this.
While she was holding Gabe, by the way.
Yeah, while she was holding Gabe. Yeah.
Remember that time I killed a child?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, small bun. So to bring it back, so they won't get too segued off. Went through all the trials, which were lots of fun, and then the piece de resistance was the roof. And the roof of the forge was like this on top, above the canopies of Arhor'ha. So you could see like the sky very clearly up there. You could see the falling off the side. This would be very, very bad. But it was this, the weapon was just like going up like an elevator, effectively. And it was going to mount at the very top so they could shoot the weapon. And the way that, I keep on saying like the weapon. So to describe like the weapon, it's very bipedal. So for reference, it's like Metal Gear Solid-esque. A bipedal weapon. It's got legs. It can move. It's mostly just to fire the cannon that exists on it. But a person is inside of it, and that's the sacrifice. That's the ammo, so to speak. Based off of how people were responding, the charge or the energy from the forge is what was going to give it its oomph before it got fired off. But everyone rejected so much of the idea of Ares or the idea of war that it really set them up to not have to worry as much about the energy getting to the weapon. And the fight itself was, I'd say, somewhat intense. I'd say the ending part of it was intense. But everyone
because we had the struggle in which we kind of brought up the nothingness.
The Kalem key. Thank you, Jeannie. That was the name of his truth-seeing ability.
It caused more struggles because what ended up happening was we got shadow versions of Gabe and Gabe and Safina, I think. There's like shadow versions that we also had to fight some additional.
Yes, that's
additional
correct.
struggle.
Yeah, the struggle bug was definitely shadow versions and like Alexander.
Oh yeah, and Alexander, who was just like trying to stop us from stopping, and he was
all for the thing firing off. Yeah. So it was
Alexander.
It
was a difficult fight.
It was Alexander. It was Shadow Safina, Shadow Gabriel, and like trying to keep these orbs of energy from loading into the weapon before it fires.
All the while, Jake and Soul Sarah are just battling it out.
Yeah, as like meanwhile, Like the few times where anyone sees Gig like fight, like not anything more like I have my scythe in hand and we're gonna go at it. And Soul Sarah, for the lack of the better, most of the fight was winning. So Soul Sarah, this Yoda Grandmaster Yoda-esque monk.
Well, wasn't it? Cause, I mean, Gig was hinting that she was cheating.
Yeah. So they were fighting, like, and it was brutal, Clash of the Titans, anime style, fight in the air sort of thing. And Gig kind of was losing and did hint as like, oh, you're cheating, and like not in like like almost like I appreciate that you're cheating, like that's part of the game is cheating, but she thinks she's being all good. It's like good people shouldn't cheat, right? Well, you're not that good, you're not that different from me. So everyone's fighting on the ground. Soul Sarah and Gig are fighting in the air. It's this huge cacophony of chaos, not too different than the first arc of season 9. Gabriel goes very creative, and instead of, I think it was like trying to defeat the shadow, ends up crafting the shadow like a contest of wills. So it builds it into, I want to say, an orb.
Yeah.
And he succeeds. Like, the good news is that had that gone bad, that could have been very, very damning. But, this is an adventure and there are risks, and he succeeded. And I want to say that ended up netting him like a pearl, like a black pearl. That was what left of his shadow.
Blackfire pearl.
Yeah, Blackfire pearl. That fight was absolutely very, very hard. And like Alara was like, Celestian, why would you let me die out here? She was just crying about things.
Oh, right.
She was whining. She was whining for a bit.
Well, none of your magic was working, remember?
Right,
Like,
that's why, yeah. Like, she'd be casting spells, and it wouldn't fucking work.
Yeah, you kept, like, asking for Celestian's help, and then you would cast magic, and nothing was happening.
Yeah, so she was evoking her deity as a cleric, and, like, her calls were effectively, like, not getting answered. And she was crying about it. She's like, what the fuck? Why? I didn't help! Why are you forsaking me? What have I done? This is the way I'm wearing my hair. I'll do it, David. I'm so sorry.
Is it my hair? I'll change my hair.
Change my hair. But...
Look at the circle. Look at the summoning circle.
Look at the
I
summoning
haven't
circle.
abandoned you. Just look.
Yeah. Well, like, that's the wonderful, like, D&D of, like, missing roles or, the chaos of what's going on. But she eventually did fuel summoning, and she got very similar to the Elven Warrior with the spear. She got someone to help her. She summoned Dude with Bandages. Mm-hmm. So he came down, and you kind of got, like, your tide-turning event where you could fight against Alexander, who was very strong.
Yeah. And that's also, I'm pretty sure up here is when Cass started to piece together that it was Tide because she recognized the sword.
Yes. Because the sword was
from
also...
her vision.
Yeah, because the sword is what she like got out of or saw when seeing Ty kill Troy. Because it was a very unique weapon. And she saw it again when Alara summoned a Ty in bandages. Because it was the same sword. So they fought, the TLDR is they fought, they won. There were some memorable they fought, they won moments. One was like Alara being like forsaken and like screaming at the skies, like, what the fuck's wrong with you? We're gonna die here. I'm asking for help and you're doing nothing. Ty comes down. There was the Gabriel thing with his shadow, like coalescing him down into a pearl. That happened. There was the Cassandra and Ty fighting very like Cassandra and Troy style, ending with how Alexander died, which is how they both stabbed him, like because he came down. Remember him he jumped at Cassandra, and like it was Cassandra in front. Behind Cassandra was Ty, and Ty's huge, so the dude in the sword jumps with like a spear to just end Cass, and Ty stabs him as he kind of like descends down, and then at the same time Cass stabs him. So they both like attack him, and that's how Alexander dies.
Cass and Ty had really good fighting moments together.
They had some very good fighting moments together. But we can't...
solid murder buddies.
But I'd have to say, despite all those dynamics of Gabe versus himself, Alara and Celestian, Ty and Cass, the hats off moment goes to like
To Safina.
Safina, yeah.
Just at last. Oh god.
Yeah, so Safina, who's going there for like his master this entire time, and Gig kind of made the comment that, you're cheating, was that, Safina went to go help Sol Sarah take care of Gig when things like were starting to slow down, like he didn't have to worry about the shadows as much anymore. His priority was his master, but he ended up like killing Sol Sarah, like in the moment of like complete like treachery, betrayal. He was, for lack of a better term, manipulated and punched through Sol Sarah's like chest to give the heart, or her heart, to Gig, and it ended up being like the Book of Ares, which is, as Gig alluded to, how she was cheating, like the Book of War.
Yeah.
And everyone had some comments, and Gig's like, I have this book. Maniacal laugh. Just kind of like walked away with it. And made like some sort of like comment to like the world's more complicated than you think it is, because the Elisa dies, but the weapon doesn't fire.
I thought Elisa didn't die for some reason.
I thought she did die. I can go back and double check, but I think the thing is that there wasn't enough energy for it to fire.
Yeah.
But she was already in it, so she was like still in the weapon.
Right.
Because I don't recall like her leaving to do the resistance, not left a void, which is a problem.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So she did not at least leave the Ares Forge.
Yeah.
Yep, and then everyone was left like sad on the rooftop of the Ares Forge, and then
Alara got real pissed at Ty and started yelling at him.
Yep, that's true. I do recall that.
You did?
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
It was a very emotional. It was a very emotional time for Alara.
Yeah.
That entire fight.
I don't remember.
Because he showed up, and you were like, "Why have you showed up? Like, what is your connection? What is this?"
Yeah, you like straight up like accosted him.
Oh.
Like you were,
I don't
like
remember.
your sin was showing hard that day. Like with Lara, like why? What did you know? Tell me. You're not telling me something.
And then like, Cass was just like quiet and like really didn't talk about too much. But then, like, I think it let Alara know that, like, Ty was one that killed Troy. And then she was also like, why don't you get angry? Like, get angrier at him. She's like,
Yeah. I don't remember any of this.
That's fair. Like, I have gigantic holes for these moments, too. But as we talk about them, like, the main thing I do remember from the fight that, like, Alara was very raw. Like, aggravated and frustrated. At like a lot of things. She was angry at Celestian for not being there. She was angry at Ty for like withholding information. She was angry at Cass for not being more upset based off of who like this person was.
yeah, because I think she was upset because Ty showed up. It's like you have some sort of connection. She just wanted answers, and he wasn't giving her the answers. Like,
Yeah.
she just wanted to figure out, like, why are you here? And he's like, it's not for me to figure out. Like, you need to find the answers yourself. I'm not here to just tell you stuff. Like, I remember and she was just real pissed.
Yeah, that's like the same thing that everybody's been saying. And I'm like, okay, don't mind me. I'm just the one over here with like fucking amnesia.
There
like,
you go. That's exactly,
Okay.
you captured it. Right there.
Let me just fucking, I guess, figure this out on my own. Because, okay.
Or you could just tell me.
I was really upset. Yeah, I'm like, I think I was really upset just because I felt like my god had abandoned me.
Yeah.
There. Because nothing was working, and just, yeah, there was a lot of pile up there.
That's what I mostly remember. Like, that put her in that mood. And, like, everything from that was, like, this whirlwind of, like, because that's something she's been dependent on, like, explicitly. Like, that was, like, the unshakable moment. Like, the unshakable object. That's, like, suddenly being moved. It's like, what's going on here? You're not supposed to move. You're unshakable. Like, I ask for help, you give it to me. That's our relationship, cleric to God.
I think Cass like wasn't angry, but she was trying to talk to Ty about Troy and like you killed him. And I think if I remember correctly, Ty was just playing it off like he didn't remember killing this person. Like I probably did.
It's like I killed lots of people, I didn't like commit them all to memory.
I think that was like the hard part for her. It was just like he wasn't even memorable, and this like okay,
Yeah.
well, feeling good.
Yep. That's Ty. That was my murder phase. Yeah. Junie made a good memory that Gargax did survive. He was like one of your helpers in the battle. Gargax.
And
Otto lived as well. Otto and Gargax were on your side. They were helping.
Mm-hmm.
Gargax was going to Nexus to tell them about Elisa and Alexander's death, as both of them did not survive. And he still wished to honor Alexander, like, he had a violent end, but Gargax was with Alexander when like he became more and more misguided. So then we had like I wouldn't say entire session, but at least like a good half session about how to do proper funeral rites for people.
We learned a whole bunch
because
about how much does a body weigh when you burn down a body.
We learned so much. We learned about how like the body burns and how bone doesn't, and how like burns are made, and like I'll give like hats off to Junie. I learned more about shit that I did not know that day. Junie, cough.
We learned that Junie had so much knowledge of things that we did not know.
But that's the good thing about like D&D though. Like it inspires you to go read more about things and do more about things.
Yeah, I think we had to figure out like how long does it take to burn a body once you burn a body down, because we only had like we had a vase that like did stuff with water in it. Yes. And we used that to carry Solsera in, but we were trying to figure out if we had enough containers to burn her and Alexander and send them back, and that was a whole thing.
And then how you burn it so that's her ashes and not like wood ash that you used to burn. Yeah. Like, it was a whole thing.
How do you say it was a whole thing?
It was a whole thing. It was very entertaining. You guys had a lot of that conversation out on the cliff. Yep. So that happened. It occurred.
And that's where also Gabe grabbed the items and he had like some energy balls as well.
Yeah.
And so while we were preparing the pyre, that's when Gabe was experimenting with what he could do. He made Cass a sword.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that would charge in the sun. And what were the other things that you made, Gabe?
I made the light sword that could charge in the sun, the ironwood plate that I upgraded. I gave Alara her Celestian staff, which allowed her to ask one question. And I made the vase. I upgraded the map of well, not really the map, but essentially it was the blueprint scroll, which Rendell used as a holster for crossbow bolts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And everything else I turned into gems or exploded.
Future stuff. Like, so like, yeah, you like pulled their energy so you could infuse future things, I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's right.
And just to confirm, this is the same guy that in season 9 was like on Four Loko on fire running.
Yeah. Four Loko Fire Gabriel. That's right. That's ironically just a fourth of Four Loko Fire Gabriel.
We forgot the most important part on top of the forge, which is when Gabe talked to Gig and got out of his deal.
Yeah, that's right. So during the whole entire night, the world isn't fair, and I'm not saying that it is conversation, like Gabe had that like, you're not a nice man sort of conversation, and like I don't want to be in a deal with you.
Like, it wasn't more of like, you're not a nice man, I don't want to deal with you. It's more of, I don't think I need this. Thank you for teaching me what I know, but I'm going to try and do this on my own for a little bit.
Sure, interpretations being what they are. So regardless, like, I do not wish to be in a deal with you. And then the deal was broken just as easily.
Yeah.
He gave back what he was given. No, nothing crazy happened.
We didn't even know about the deal.
Yeah, because they gave me the realize he made a deal, and Cass is like, I'm pretty sure you made a deal. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what you did.
What? There's no way I made a deal. What are you talking about? It's just a pearl. Nothing happened.
Yeah, sure.
Stuff did, in fact, happen.
Stuff did in fact happen. It kind of makes me, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, where Gabriel is now, like, makes you wonder what would have changed.
If you
But
kept
that's
the pearl,
part of
they kept the deal with
D&D, the
Gabe.
what ifs. So we got a lot more to cover, and I can only regret to say that my brain power will only last out so many more minutes.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So you guys.
Would you like us? Do you want me to pull a little bit so you can let your brain relax?
No, I think the second I stop, it's going to stop completely. So.
Fair. So then we went to the forge for longer. We went back.
Yes. So you guys made a decision, like, what do you guys want to do next? Alara had, I think, 5 or so destinations she wanted to visit that were referenced in her journal. The forge was just one of them. But the party did go back and explore 2 more forges within them. And the forges were loosely based off of, like, the zodiacs. So Aries was very fire. It was very, like, war oriented. The next one they went to my knowledge, you went to Pisces last, was Aquarius, which kind of went into the even more, why won't fucking people tell me anything, hashtag Alara 2018.
Yeah.
So everyone went in there and had to, like, offer some knowledge, and it was very, like, interesting, like, what exactly you offered to get into the library, so to speak.
Well, I think it was just one person had to offer it to open the door, and I remember the first one was Brindle offered how he could move a coin around on his fingers.
Yeah, you're right.
Stood
Doing
in front of
the coin roll on his fingers. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I offer this. How to roll a coin. And it worked. Like, the door opened. Like, they didn't require you to give you the secrets of the universe to enter. It was very mechanical. It did a segue to the other Season 7 thing that was going on with Strigoform. So there were owls, mechanical owls that were there.
Yeah.
And lots of mechanical creatures in general that were maintaining this big library, including one of the older ones that was very, like, butler-esque and talking to everybody. There were mechanical birds, like very Westworld, like very mechanical birds. There are mechanical owl strigoforms that are humanoid, people that were helping.
I wrote a song for this place.
And there's a song for this place.
Yeah.
There is. In our Discord, I think it's in playlist still, isn't it?
I think so.
Where?
Well, while that's drawn up, because again, if I stop, I think I'll just stop entirely. Everyone had, like, questions. So there, you met I think it was Yus? Yus.
Master Yi.
Master Yus. So previously in Season 6, you met Aqua, and Yus is the person you met here, who is very, I'll go with just personas, like, very Palo-esque, very stoic, very gonna tell you things. This is where the most memorable moment is. I think Gabe was doing nothing until one moment he Peter Panned off a balcony.
Yeah.
I remember that
Cass played cards with Master Geese,
and
he
win.
was using.
Yeah.
Well, like, he was using some form of, like, a code. I remember because Alara was watching, and, like, the code, like, the way that he was playing cards stopped making sense at a certain point.
Yeah. So you were playing cards with Master Yeast, and he was constantly winning. Then after a certain point, he wasn't, like, winning, but because the way he was playing the cards wasn't making sense.
Yeah.
Like, it was completely nonsensical. Because it was, like, code, and I forget who, how, and why that translation got interrupted, but it did.
Gabe.
Oh, okay.
Gabe was doing comprehend languages so he could understand all the other books, because some languages he could read. He looked up from his book and he saw it and was like, "This is code." And it's like, what are you trying to say? And he was like, "Well, gosh, damn it, kid, you messed it up."
Well, I know we eventually, because I remember the thing about the orb that Alara had that, like, would record memories, is that you could look back and watch them. So we did read that back, and we did find out, because I was like, what was it? What?
Yeah, that's right. I don't remember what it was, though.
There's something about, like, the journey you're going on is going to end. It was something about, like, the journey, like, being very aware of, like, watching people, I think it had to do. We didn't know at the time, but Atlas
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
ultimately saying that the path, and then the biggest thing that we got out of this whole thing was that the Master Yeast was treating Alara exceedingly well. Like out of everyone,
Yes, very well.
he was treating her like she was like a precious gem or something.
I don't think it was that. I think it more of like they've already met.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were already acquaintances.
There's definitely something different because he was very prickly with everybody except for
Alara.
Alara.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having a hard time remembering these parts.
It's okay. It's all like that's why we do these things, right? Because there's lots of gaps. But like I said, I do remember that Yeast was very prickly with everybody except for Alara. And it was like even to the degree that when Alara said something, if he couldn't outright tell her, he was finding other ways to do so. And then there was like, if there's anything you wish to learn, here it is. That's the joke now that we have, like, do you have your Aquarius library card?
Yeah.
To learn
Because I asked
a bunch of things.
Because I asked him, and he's like, "Well, I can tell you, but I don't think you're not gonna want to hear it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was a lot of like the burden of knowledge.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
it seems like more and more a very common, I wouldn't say
Yeah.
Aurora trope, but it kind of feels like it's starting to, because it falls into a lot of people's what makes them up. Like you can learn something, but there is a burden of knowledge. I wouldn't want to make it an Aurora trope though, because when I think of a lot of like the Far Realms, Cthulhu-esque stuff that Trey does, like knowledge can make you, like the truth can make you insane. So it's just like, I think that the idea of the pursuit of truth and knowledge has its effect. Because Aurora tenants can't be broken. And table tenants, they're just at the table. I'd say the Bucks table definitely has that idea that truth is a burden, like, and the pursuit of truth is heavy.
Yeah.
Can
confirm.
The more you learn, the more you're like, oh dear God. So you went to a library where you could learn anything. I don't remember if you guys learned anything. I don't know if you guys learned anything. Like, I'm really trying to figure like what factoid you walked away with. We
read things. I know like Cass looked for like stuff about Troy's village, trying to get like more understanding of that. Like
that's right.
Some
you found out where
basic
Oakdale
stuff,
was. That's correct. You got a map.
We also went to the Shadow Market.
Shadow Market.
I vaguely recall this.
Okay. I'm gonna write it down. Here we go.
Oh.
What?
No.
I do believe that we were trying to find some component for the binding ritual for the Book of Pisces.
You guys came
back.
That's when we came back, right? Yeah, that's because we went there. We went to Aquarius first, and then we went to Pisces, and we went back to Aquarius
to find how to do the binding activity for Pisces.
Yeah,
correct.
So I think we have to
move
for
over
continuity.
To Pisces.
Go to
I'll hold up on that.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys at some point left Aquarius and went to go to Pisces. Like, hey, cool, forges. This is fun shit. So the next one you went to, fortunately, again, one of the nicer ones, you went to Pisces and learned more about the lore that exists therein. Because that was the underwater one. That was where it had like the jellyfish. It was very much nice. And you met the like the custodian, well, not Pisces herself, but the person that was responsible for like maintaining the place. Mm-hmm. There's like, this is me. Like I am Pisces. Like we're all Pisces. Like that's.
Well,
and she even went to the point like
angel that was asleep in the water. I think we were able to wake her.
Yes, she was a celestial-esque person. Correct.
Yeah.
And it kind of like alluded to, like, Use was very celestially oriented. Pisces was celestially oriented. Like, the idea of what a celestial versus an infernal is. Like, they're all, like, celestials. So you ran into Pisces, the person that was responsible for the forge, and you talked to her a bit, and then, you went over and saw Pisces, like, herself, like a goddess, like, in the water. Then she woke up, and you talked to her for a bit. And the problem is that the book itself whereas the Book of Aries was with Solsera and out in the world, and that the Book of Pisces was still here in the Forge. And it had no guardian. So that's when you went back to Aquarius and said, cool, well, we'll all be the guardians of this thing. It's like, what does that entail? And then you eventually found out, got a ritual, and bound that to Gabriel opted out.
Right.
Yeah, Gabriel had his own things going on. So Gabriel opted out. So Safina didn't? I can't remember if Safina did or not.
Right, no, yes, because Safina
did.
didn't. He got bound to it.
Safina got bound to it. So it was Safina, Alara, Brindle,
and Cass.
and Cass. Yeah, so 4 people. So it was bound 4 ways. And thus became the, what the fuck does this mean now? What is up with this book that's now inside of me, like Solsera, that people later found like little gems of life. And like, cool, I can give life to a tree. I can give life to a rock.
I can feed this life to a dragon.
I can guess. It really became like, like the Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, like the feeder silos, what it really ended up becoming.
Yeah, Juniper, and we all started pulling orbs out of our chests.
That's
like,
right.
Hey, have you seen this?
Correct.
That water that the Pisces celestial lady was in, that pool made you forget
Yes.
all your memories too.
That is correct. Thank you for that fact. Very like the Water of Lethe situation where if you started like touching the water, you'd lose your memories.
Yeah.
Which just started like weeks of theory crafting the lore. I'm like, have I been here? I've been here! Master Use! Tell me, have I been here? You won't want to know. Ah!
Right, 'cause I think Pisces also seemed to remember Alara.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pisces also seemed to remember Alara, or looked upon her very fondly, with the same sort of, I'm not going to tell you, but I know something, and Alara's like, I'm going to stab you. This is why I've said, because I just punch in the face.
And that's also where we got some more, like, out of character lore, because we learned that Pisces was actually the celestial that Gig was, quote-unquote, torturing.
Yes.
When the angels came and smited Freeport. And that's why she was kind of asleep in the water. She was recovering from that.
From the torture / stuff that happened over 100 years ago. Yeah. Yep. And as far as like Forward lore goes, like other things, like the person that brought Pisces back to the Forge was Paolo, and that Pisces did what she did like voluntarily, and the Bun Bun that is talked about previously was like hers and Gig's. So it's like this character. Yeah, he's sleeping. That's right. Yeah, and Junie did a Calum key for Pisces. Is like, okay, well, tell me a secret about you, you sleeping little something. And it was a winged angel holding a cat like a child, and it was Pisces is merely sleeping after trauma and can wake up. Like she's healed. Yeah, all them Caleb keys.
Who spoke in Celestial to her? Was it Alara? Was it me?
Yeah, because you could read Celestial.
Yeah.
That's how you knew about the book.
Yes.
Okay. I can't. It's all. I'm sorry. This, mind you, this is also when I was starting to pack for my PCS back to the States. It's a little blurry.
But like I remember, we learned that Pisces essentially deals with life and souls, and
she's very much like the end of the cycle and like the idea of life and rebirth.
Because
which is fascinating for like people like because of the phoenix, which is very the celestial concept of something that's also elemental.
And like the idea was that we were going to go out and try to bring, because she'd been asleep, so things that were supposed to be brought to life hadn't been, so we were going to go and take the soul drums and everything, which could be seen as a form of currency in some places and used for different reasons. You're going to try to protect it and bring life back to the things that were supposed to have life.
I remember because it had consequences later. the group went to the Shadow Market. I know you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But it was effectively saying, here's the Shadow Market and how to get to the Shadow Market.
Mm-hmm.
And the handler being like, are you starting to open like a line of credit? And they're like, no, like we don't want a relationship. And it's like, well, then you have no account with me. Good day, sir.
Yeah, it was very much like, we're doing business. We are here to do business, and leaving like, no.
Yeah, like it's a one-time transaction, sir. I want A for B, and I don't want a relationship with you. Like that's the end of this. Our business has concluded.
Mm-hmm.
What were we there for?
To get, there were certain items that we needed to be able to bind which is what Gabe brought up, to bind the book to us. So we went to Master Yeast to get the information that we needed, and then he's like, well, these are the items that you need.
And then you went to the Shadow Market, made a one-time transaction, came back with it, and bound the books to yourselves.
Gotcha.
Yes. And then from there, so that was very mystical and just not even remotely confusing, is that the party went further north and had the event with, was it north?
Capricorn?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Sagittarius.
You ran into Sagittarius. Like, you ran into Sagittarius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were going towards the lake.
Starset. Oh, yeah, not just the lake. Starset Lake. Yeah.
Starset, yeah, because we were trying to follow. We're like, well, this is kind of close. Lake. Let's go in this direction.
Yeah. So you end up, the last three things that happened was Starset, North Grove, and then Oakvale. So you went to Starset, which was very the high point of all these things not making sense, coming to a crux with Alara's story. So you learned about the Celestials and the Dawnforge. You learned about like how the books work, and like it's all coming to. Things really took a turn when Lara went to Starset Lake. So go to Starset Lake. Like Alara at Crew went to Starset Lake. That's when you ran into Sagittarius, who was like had like archers, and during this Valley of Death, effectively. And you fought Sagittarius, who made a whole show to do, saying that, you know, it's fine, but you're like literally on the precipice here. If you go any further than here, like
I have
everything,
to kill you.
I have to
take you.
I have to take you. Like I have to stop you. Like there's too much at stake. And Alara's like, but I need to be there. And everyone's like, well, we're gonna go there, so we're gonna just keep moving on. You do what you gotta do, buddy.
And like I remember there was a whole bunch of like Cass trying to protect her and trying to find a way around it.
Yep. I remember that Ty showed up again.
Yep.
Like she summons Ty once more. Alara summoned a Ty. Ty at Crew fought Sagittarius and his little archery minions.
And then Alara prayed to Celestian again, and then she got like super mega Sagittarius killing power.
So her staff could always do that. That was kind of the thing. Like her staff was a bane weapon, so she prayed and then struck Sagittarius and then crit with a bane weapon. Which, for those that are like listening, a bane weapon is very specific, killing a very specific type of thing, and does like 10 damage. So dear fucking god, just like what happened? Just like well, you know, it's a bane weapon, so, you know. So you crit, so that's 12d10 damage. I think you killed him.
Yeah. Well, off the start. Well, because Gabriel made me that staff, and it had that not wishing, but the sending spell attached. I could contact Celestian once.
Yes.
And during that, that's how Ty showed up again.
Yes.
Because I asked him something.
Help?
For help. Yeah, and he replied back, help is on the way, and then a little bit later, Ty shows up and helps us. And then
Sin, like, and now you are broken, Sagittarius. Just
horns start growing out of Lara's head, her hair goes black. Wait!
Nope. Although if you think about it, at about this time is when like Sin and Alexa would have existed at that part of the timeline, but we'll get to that because the Gate series event.
battle was happening, Sagittarius told Brindle information.
That is right. Like, Brindle was non-convinced with the, like, if this is like your mission, like context, effectively, like, why?
Yeah, it was
why
all
do
about
you believe
killing
so?
Sagittarius too.
Why do you believe so deeply in this? And Sagittarius just effectively said, "I'll show you," and showed like a world where it was as dark and charred as Avernus, and a large dragon like flying off.
Mm-hmm.
Like insinuating the cause is a dragon returning and eradicating Arhor'ha. So,
Yeah.
and then, Sagittarius is like, and I'm on the ground, it hurts, I'm kind of like dead. Oh, yep, with Alara on the dragon's back, mind you. So it wasn't just a dragon, it was Alara pulling like a Game of Thrones, riding said dragon.
Sounds fine to me.
Sounds fine to me. Yep, so then you continue on. Like, there was a bit of this is when the party started splitting off, like, fragmenting just a smidge more. Because, like, Safina didn't quite go with, and Gabriel kind of stayed back. And then a little later on, like, after the events of Starset, Gabriel, like, outright left Wayfinders after this.
Yeah.
And Safina stayed with, but, like, the party started fragmenting just a smidgen around Starset.
Right.
So in Starset, it was the Alara's moment. So she was there to meet a god, Celestian. That was like the crux of her journey, her wanderings, which went to the song Flower Dance and a lot of revelations where everyone was basically on the shores of this lake, and she like walks out very Unibresca style to the water and meets Celestian, and they have about the time of one dance on a sheet of water to talk.
There's a shit ton of stuff going on while they're doing that.
It's so much happens to so many. Like Gig, yeah. Gig's just antagonizing, like he's present and he's there strumming his guitar. You can see that on the montage too, just being approximately Gig.
Yeah.
Ty is there. Being witness. There's a comment to how Paolo should be there, but he's late. But I believe like Panger was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh Pangerbon. I think Panger came with
Cass. He started coming out of
right.
Cass's chest.
Completely forgot that. Yeah, Panger came out of like Cass's chest in like the Sagittarius spell, if I recall correctly. Yeah. It's like
my god.
It's like I need help and like
reading my notes.
Well, Panger comes out of Cass's chest and helps out. So like Captios's Panger, it's like all over the place.
Does
shit.
Alara's dad know this happened?
I mean, he does now, but at this point in time, let's just say that he knows in the present day and time about this.
Got it.
There's a whole lot more there. Until we close down that plot thread, I can't really go into too many details. The Atlas Elo story still has a lot more highway on it.
Yeah.
So a few different things to cover down on. Panger comes out of Cass's chest. That's relevant as he's there as Ty, Gig, and like Panger / Paolo are present. The Alara does this dance to the flower dance with Celestian, and she like asks a bunch of questions and has like this conversation, and he's just enjoying his time. It was very, very sad and very heartfelt because it was very brief. And
I just remember the thing of how many times she's done it before was brought up to her.
This journey, and it was like a lot.
Yes.
600 times?
600 times. And the way that it was explained is that, like, if you look at a note in a song, the every note is a bit unique, and in context without having other notes, it's just a note. and each note is like, it's like each note is beautiful and it's part of the song, and that's like, you are both. It's like, how come different? Like, how am I unique? How is this different? Like, I don't want to go through this anymore. Like, it was a very, it's worth going back and just looking at that scene of itself. No summing it up will do it justice. But she has done this, like, she has found Celestian many, many times before. Like, versions of her have. But the thing that he had to say is that, but you would be the last. Like, a song will come to an end. Like, this is the last of it. It's like, and in doing so, like, you have different, like, the songs in it. What's next is, I need you to take care of this dragon. And that was Atlas. So she left with a little baby dragon.
Yeah.
But she came back to Ty being turned to stone.
Yeah.
Yes. She came back to
Ty.
Ty came back to stone, and like Gig was very upset. He cried blood. Like, he was very confused about this concept.
Did he really?
Yeah, he cried blood.
I don't fucking remember that.
Yeah, he was
I
like,
remember that.
he was very like, because one of the things with like Gig and his like arc is that the way that he interprets things and emotions is very different. Like, almost like he can't connect the dots. So he's just like there being Gig, and then like he finds himself like bleeding from the eyes, and is like, "What's this?"
Oh.
Yeah, because it goes back to part of Gig in like season 1 or 2. When he fought with Willis, part of Willis's soul got attached to Gig, so it was kind of like watching his brother die.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So it was a very emotional 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of feels.
There were lots of feels.
And then Brendel was pissed off because we had a dragon, and he was like, hanging
Yeah.
back, like, no.
It was like in complete stealth mode. I remember that too. It's like, it's like I saw what Sagittarius saw. I'm not saying I trust you, but if you go too far, I will end you. I remember that conversation.
And Cass got real pissed, and she's like, you don't just abandon people, like, you need to step outside and actually talk face to face, because he was like hiding because he's a rogue. That's what rogues do. It's like, nope.
Yep. And Ginny also brought up something I'd completely forgotten, that like Safina ended up getting like snake tattoos when dealing with Gig.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Like, I can't remember when Safina got this.
It was either
but he
it was
got
either
snake tattoos.
it was either after the fight or after the dance with Celestian. But during this time at Starset, he did get snake tattoos.
Yeah.
Because we had after like all this emotional context, you know, Ty was a statue and how to deal with that situation, and you know, Alara comes back with a dragon, and Brindle and Alara have this whole entire, you know, I know what I saw, and I saw you riding a dragon, and you went out here and you came back with a dragon. You know, I'm not.
I have a quote in my notes that says, "Fallen angels are not to be trusted."
Fallen angels are not to be trusted.
I don't know who said that though. But it's in right after the Celestian thing.
I think it was Celestian that told you that. I feel as though
this is the next session though.
Oh, well, in that case, maybe it's Paolo that said it, because immediately afterwards when you ran to Paolo.
No, because Alara couldn't talk to Paolo. Only Cass could.
Thanks, Junie, because at some point, Junie did carve Alara to learn a secret about Alara. Which was a woman holding a small dragon affectionately, and the secret was Alara's soul contains traces of divinity in it.
That's right. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Thank for you all, because I'm only remembering like half of the story.
It's a lot. There's a lot, so usually just like you get bits, and everyone's bits become a story.
It's true. There's a lot. There's a lot to reconcile. What I will say is that most of it really comes down to what the players are doing, as opposed to like some overarching thing. Oh, Ty was a dying dragon curled around a dragon's egg. Ty has parts of a dragon's soul, and that immortal dragons must die for another one to be reborn in their immortal cycle. Which alluded to the idea that part of Ty's soul was beholden to Targaryen, the silver dragon.
Which I think much like Iolanthe's is as well, correct? Because she...
It's true.
Or is it just Ty?
No, it's just Ty. Like, Ty had a very unique thing in that he he was using it, like it was granted to him, so he's kind of like taking it for himself, very in Thai fashion. Like, you're not going to just Indian give me this power, I'm going to use it.
Yeah, and we had learned that he was... Because I remember we learned like a lot of stuff about Ty, that he kept going back into like a different realm and coming back, and I know he was starting to like fade into starlight. I remember Alara saw that at one point, and we later learned that this was kind of always what was going to happen.
Yeah, and
he just kept trying to come.
There's a lot of pros to that. So you'd have to, if I took a segue away from Starset for a moment and kind of connect those dots, at the end of, during season 6, if you track like the tie-inning, starting there at the portal where he was left in like the void, he ended up going through said void of nothingness until the final fight, where he made a deal with Naz Daman to look after Balania if Naz Daman would look after his sister Iolanthe. So like a sister for a sister kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So the two of them traveled until they got to a point where Pala could construct enough of where they were and build enough so that they could move back to the current plane. However, it got to this crossroads where it was unstable and only one of them could make it out. So whatever happened would be a very violent end to whatever was created into that void, like the abyss, effectively, that was being created and formed around. So when he, again, killed lots of people, Ty's not a great person. He made it like, super transparent. But he let Balania go. Like, he like knocked her out and like threw her through. But in doing so, he kind of like died again, but your soul can't really die at that point. You're kind of stuck. So he was constantly being ripped between where he was to the material plane. And there's a prose like showing what that is like. It's like being pulled apart, but like some of your organs aren't there. Like you're just in a lot of pain, but you're like stuck between these two, like going yo-yo. And it was Celestian, and there's a prose for that. Celestian that's like responsible for like traveling and wandering and all that gave him like an anchor. But it wasn't out of just great benevolence. It's like I need your help. Like this, like you can say no, but there's a good reason behind it. And to tie into helping Celestian. And the irony that you were alluding to was that it was always Ty, as part of the Targaryes family, was meant to like fight and have this great game against an agent of Reth, because to get where he did and started like, you know, helping Alara and coming the ways that he did was Gig, Ty, and like Palo had to be all present for Atlas, which is the dragon that Alara has to be born. Lots of rules, right? But effectively he had to be there, and he stayed back at the end to fight off Reth, because Reth wanted to attach himself to Atlas.
Yeah.
And become like Reth with Atlas's power.
So Gig stayed back to do that? Or
No. Gig straight up said, like, you know what, we'll find a different way. Like, he actually was playing the devil's advocate, like the long game, and saying, yep, we lost this battle, dude. Everyone who's there is already gone. Like, there's no point in saying it. There's no point in it. Yeah. So
it's a really good prose to read too. I know it's in the.
What's it called again?
I'm trying to remember.
Oh,
A Rage Against the Dying of the Light, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it ends with like really putting a cherry on some of like Ty's as a character. Because like the reason that he stayed behind wasn't because he was this great person, but he didn't want his family or his sister to live in a world where this would be possible. So he's very stubborn.
Yeah, and I remember once everything happened and he turned to stone, like everyone pretty much had to do like I think like a wisdom roll.
Yeah, that was the worst part of it.
Yeah, and whoever failed it could not remember Ty.
Yes. So, and it kind of goes to things like what makes Captius a bit unique too, right? Like when he died, it wasn't the fact like, oh, you're dead. Like it pulled your memory of him was gone. Lots of people forgot like who he was. It was just like this idea of like, oh, you know, one of those Targaryes kids.
And that like I know that really bothered Cass because she was one of the people that remembered and like she had that connection with Ty and people
couldn't remember.
Like, so not everyone could remember, and she's like, "What is wrong with you?"
Like, oh yeah, just another arrogant dragonborn statue you're looking at right here. Like, check Crystallis, they're littered with them. This one's not that special. I can't even read the name.
Yeah. And
That
so I
was
know,
really sad.
Yeah.
it was real rough to see, like, especially with like me as a player, the history with Ty was like, why?
Brindle absolutely did fail, because I remember that like the Genie played off really well. Of like, I don't know what you're talking about. So Brindle did fail that. I think Safina also failed that.
I thought Gabe did for some reason too.
I don't remember if Gabe did or not.
I did.
Did. So Gabe also failed. Like, the people that saved, I think, was just Alara and Cass. Yeah.
And so then I know at one point Cass brought a tree to life, and then
Season 9 starts now.
well, because we were there, and she kept hearing like a sound. It was kind of like the stone was calling to her, but it was like a tree, and so she put her soul stone into a tree, and it made a tree come to life. So now there's just a live tree just hanging out at the lake. But then there's a big argument with Brindle because he, again, did not agree with what they were doing and thought that the dragon was going to be evil. So he decided that he would stay with the group to stop the dragon from turning evil and being like, hey, if anything happens, like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, like he's like the idea of like the fail safe.
Yeah.
You maybe have like well intentions. It's like, I'll make sure that worst case scenario never happens.
And I think Ty's sword shattered.
It did.
And Cass held on to the shattered pieces. And then wanted to make sure that Ty's family could find him, because if they left him at Starset Lake, they wouldn't be able to find like his statue or anything. And so they brought Ty's statue out and put it in kind of like a safe space.
Yeah, because as you went towards Starset Lake, it was permanently dark. Like, there was this idea of like, the closer you get to it, you can get like lost. So that's how it's protected, highly magical world.
Yeah.
So getting past like the idea of like the ward of Starset, so you could reach it.
Yeah, and knowing that like only a few people could get there, she didn't want his family to not have a chance to go to like his grave or anything like that. So they brought his body out, and then that's when they ran into back the area where they killed Sagittarius, which had some writing on it all of a sudden. And we're like, whoa, shit.
Yeah,
what's this?
Where you met Palo, right? And then the idea of like Palo testing your virtue sort of situation.
Yeah.
Like, you went and murdered Sagittarius, so he's like bringing him back and asking you a bunch of questions. And that was around this time where Gabe dipped out to go with his own path. There was, I know that Cass succeeded in like passing Paolo's like little tests.
It was just Cass. She just looked crazy to everyone because she went over to a tree because she said the right answer out loud and then looked up and there was a guy and she's like, oh, what's that guy doing? She walked over to the guy and everyone's like, what are you doing, Cass? Why are you doing crazy stuff and talking to a tree? And that's where she met Paolo, who was supposed to be there, and the reason he got slowed down was because, we killed Sagittarius.
Yes. Since it already happened and there's no like room in that highway anymore, I will also mention that getting the statue out and like putting it there, two people that were there that were never like really highlighted, that Iolanthe and Balania both were also there.
What?
Yes.
Oh.
Because Paolo knew the second like Ty like came back and was actually tracking the times he was able to come back. One on the Ares Forge and then like one in Starset. So when he came back with the Ares Forge is when it was a lot easier to track him. But by the time that they found out, that's why he was there. Like he's running late. It's like, yeah, because he had to deal with Io and Balania being Io and Balania. Yeah. But yep, they saw. They're there. So what you guys like said and did, they know.
Huh. Hopefully that's a good thing.
For the most part, like you guys didn't say anything that was like hardly damning or ingratiating either way. They're a little bit more focused on like the statue that be Ty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like again, I was kind of mentioned like somewhere in the timeline between like arriving and leaving at Starset, Safina got like snicks, tattoos. He was able to use a bit like whips. They had not the whole entire like binding thing that Sin is dealing with right now, so much as like tattoos that like live on his skin and do things, kind of soak in his starless energy and do things. I think that after the conversation with Paolo and Sagittarius being like taken back, the next step was to go to
the sword.
The sword, right? North Sworn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we realized. We were going to go to
that fucking unicorn.
That we were going to go. We were kind of close to where Troy's village was, so we're like, well, let's see if we can do it, because that was Cass's big thing, was trying to save the village. Like, well, we're close enough now. Like, if you guys don't mind, I would like to go try to save his village. And
liberate it, because you remember like Troy's whole entire mission to do what he was doing was occupied by like monsters, which you later find out as like hobgoblins. So he was doing his thing, and the thing that Troy and Cassandra are always going to do together is they're going to get strong, like the invincible gods of youth that they are, and just take the village back, like the heroes that you see themselves as wanted to be.
Yeah.
So it's like that's you met Celestian. It's like we're close. Let's do this. So
yep. And then they were traveling, but then all of a sudden Ty's sword started making sounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like like the pieces were kind of like drawing her. So she's like, well, let's.
They were like kind of shaking a bit,
this?
and I don't think it was mentioned, but you also had pieces of Troy's sword with you. Like you kind of kept.
Yeah.
So
she kept Troy's sword with her.
Yeah. So it was like Troy's sword and like pieces of that sword. So it effectively led to like a glade where very like Legend of Zelda-esque, very Morte de Arthur-esque, like this idea of like this sword in the stone that's here in a very natural environment, and fucking unicorn.
Hey, you put it in there.
I did put it in there specifically so that it could be as annoying as possible and die a horrible death. Like if this point, if all the players like, we love this unicorn, I'm like, guys, season just ended. Like this glade explodes in blood.
The whole party dies. I'm sorry. There's no way to continue this.
Oh my god.
DM Fiat, yeah. But no, so like it was like a test of virtue, as in the 5 years is the first time we've ever awarded, even to a lesser power, a Holy Avenger. So in 5 years we issued one, and I think Cassandra is a very good custodian. If there ever is a paladin that would want to wield a Holy Avenger, even at...
What's a Holy Avenger?
It's an iconic type of sword in Dungeons and Dragons. It's fully powerful state. It's like a +3 long sword that like it's the bane of evil. Excalibur is a good example.
Got it. Okay.
So it wasn't like a +3 longsword to go like full meta. It was like the earliest stages of it. We like people growing into their weapons that like are a piece of who they are. Like Wraith is a good example for Sin. North Sworn's a good example for Cassandra. So she had to go through a bunch of trials of virtue that went through different types of sins. And and reacting to like the 7 deadly sins, and how she would handle like being subjected to sin. God, there's no good way to say it. And she did very well across all of them. It's worth just seeing the season to see how those sins played out. I do recall one of them. I think like Wrath was Ty.
Yeah.
Wrath
or Ty's father.
Ty's father, Sigwald. Yeah. That sounds right. Lost in Something together was something a bit ridiculous. I think that was like Skybreaker.
No, Lust was Cass. Lust was weird.
Lust was Cass on Cass action. Yeah.
Lust was weird.
Lust was weird.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm uncomfortable.
So it was because it would be too long to go through all the sins. We like paired them up effectively. Like it was not.
Grove Guardian was Sloth.
Yeah, the Guardian was Sloth. Just didn't want to do anything. I believe the unicorn was Vanity.
Vanity, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm
Yeah, and
too
so-
important to deal with you. I'm like, and then it's like, you must do this because you're impure of heart. And eventually you had to, like,
That was the worst.
respond to it with, like, I'm not dealing with you and your vanity. Sloth was, like, getting him to do something.
Just anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Like, Wrath was drawing at his ire or, like, neutralizing it. And then at the end, it was Troy's sword. The sword that... what was it? Gabriel put together, and
You said, I don't know if you can go into this, because you mentioned that other people were watching.
yes,
And you never, I don't think you ever told us who. I don't know if you
that
can.
was also Iolanthe, Paolo, and Belania. They were watching you as well because they'd watched and you were there at Coming Back with the Dragon. They'd lost their brother, and everyone was answering too. So the same people that were there at Starset, like after you left, were watching and doing like the Paolo thing too. I'm like, hey, look, these people that were traveling with your brother, or however you want to identify him, Belania, like they're with you. They were good people. Like he didn't just die for nothing.
Well, that's good.
Like so, you asked earlier, like, oh, did I say something wrong? Like,
Yeah, I don't think so.
it's more like you had the benefit of the doubt. And, like, that really cinched it. Kind of, like, gave him some closure.
Good. Good.
Yeah. Plus, they were able to find you because you had pieces of Ty sword. So, as I did.
That makes sense.
Scrying is fun. Anyhow, so, like, you got a Holy Avenger out of it. The +1, non-crazy version of it. More for iconography than anything else. And then the party went to Oakvale, and you had like a little waylay prior to get to run into the group that was like under assault and like running away from it, and how they planned on assaulting Oakvale to get it back. And one person that totally was not like your typical necromancer type elf lady in there, and fighters against hobgoblins. And I'll have to wrap this up while I still got brain juice. So you guys went...
We're so close. We're getting there.
So close. As you guys went to the perimeter, so they kind of like built out an outer perimeter, like a wall for you to make it difficult to assault. You guys like kind of stealth / brushed in, and like everyone wanted to do something. So Note like left, is like, I'm a lord, high lord. No one's taking me seriously. So
He went to go get cats.
He went to go get cats. He did get cats.
He went to go
Good.
get cats.
He went and came back with like a horde of cats, like to like assault the perimeter as the party went in and fought their way in to free the people, like the people
He's a
out.
Lord High Lord after all.
He is a Lord High Lord. That is absolutely correct. There was some fighting that occurred in the square. There was some fighting that occurred at a farm, which is how we kind of ended before we epilogued.
Yeah.
With like neutralizing some of the key resources in the town, like their food supply, their chain of command, like their leadership. And it was difficult because Safina went like full on starless, and that's the last everyone saw of Safina, is that when he went like full on Super Saiyan.
Yep.
And in epilogue, like you rolled back, and it was noted, but not quite done in session, that when things seemed like at their worst, because it's still a small party versus an occupying military faction, that like Diane and Nuya and Frederick and trying to get to the top Ben building. That's right, Junie. That fucking like outpost tower. But like Nuya and like the order of the White Flame went with a small like high elvish detachment and helped, and also like ghosts helped, and they routed the hobgoblins. So Troy was there at the end fighting with Cassandra, and like Nuya's Alara's father Nuya was there fighting. So it was very Lord of the Rings-esque finale piece. and then it ended with Oakvale being liberated from hobgoblins, later to be occupied by Nuya, who's a different type of tyrant. And
Have you
a
tried
baby
this
dragon.
flavor of tyrant?
And that's the season 7 Wayfinders.
Yeah.
We made it.
Yay! Any gaps? Because this is the point where Buck sits the fuck down.
I know the one thing that like we did find out that is just more like a blip is that oh dear God, Atlas liked to eat some souls.
Atlas likes
Yeah.
to eat some souls. I recall like the idea of who Atlas is. I forget who's like an astral dragon. Rah! Level 11 spells. Woo! So yeah, Atlas is half of a type of dragon that is bad news bears if he decides to be bad news bears. But he likes to eat souls. He's like a little baby dragon.
Yeah.
About the size of, I think it came out about the size of a cat. Now he's significantly larger and can turn into like a humanoid. But yeah,
He's
he
got some
likes to eat
soul
souls.
almonds.
We haven't seen him change into humanoid yet, though.
We know that he can, but it's only for like a
Doing
short
it
amount of
with
time.
Nuya, right?
You can current, like he was at the start of the Nova session. Like he was in human
Yeah.
form training with Nuya. And like that's a big thing with like dying. Like everyone was getting like trained like the militia and whatnot, but he was getting personally trained. Alice was getting personally trained by Nuya.
Oh, I thought
Which
that
is-
he was in dragon form.
That sounds adorable. He's just holding his sword with his teeth. How to Train Your Dragon for the Atlas edition. No, he was humanoid.
Okay.
But he can't
And that
maintain
was
the
the-
form long is the problem.
That was
Gotcha.
the thing with Nuya, right? Because like Nuya's anti-dragon, and now he's training a dragon.
Yeah, because he was a dragon killer.
He's
Yeah.
Dragon Killer. Yeah, him and like the legends that are
Solsera.
the Order and Solsera, went hunted and killed dragons, and that's not a minor thing to do in Aurora.
No.
Not to downplay it because season 9 has elements of that too, but dragons were very much a mythical. Like no one has seen or heard of them for a while. People say probably because of like hunting it or causing conflicts with it. But now that
Yeah.
they have become like a thing again, now there's the idea of dragon hunting being a thing once more.
Yeah.
Huh.
Damn. So Nuya trained a dragon that he hates, and yet Alar still hates her father.
I
That's
mean,
messed up. That's real messed up.
it's real messed up.
What? This is the guy that like purposely like just hid things that Alara should know. Like
I don't disagree.
just because he thought it was like you know.
But
That's like you're-
after seeing my own parents with their grandkid, I'm not like that's what I'll say. Is like that Nuya has like a grandfather-esque vibe with.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Well, it's also the idea, like, if you really go back to, like, the lore that we have about Atlas is Atlas and Elo are going to battle. It's not like, we can stop, like, it's going to happen. And Elo is considered the evil portion of that dragon, so he's just doing what he can to stop the evil one from winning.
Right.
Well, I think it's not wrong. I think that Elo's goals is not very well to light in Aurora. Because again, there's more runway to the Elo Atlas arc. But yeah, generally speaking,
Which
you don't
one?
want Elo winning.
Which one is Jacob going after? Like, out of
Jacob,
character?
I mean, Jacob is technically going after both, so that's like a season 9 like
Okay.
pivot. But Jacob is,
Yeah.
from what's been discussed or theorized, is that Jacob is going after getting strong enough to consume or take Atlas's power, so that he can then also in turn take Elo's power and be the culmination of Elo and Atlas together, but as Jacob.
Right. Okay.
He wants to become an astral dragon, which is like an intermediate god, like not quite Bahamut Tiamat levels, but like he's just going through his own ascendancy quest.
Cool. Totally not horrible. We're totally not
And
all
s-
gonna die. It's
And
all
so, like, based on how things play out, you could see like characters from season 7 coming back into season.
I mean, I stand by the fact I think like Safina and Gabriel managed to show up in just a lot of seasons. So I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like when characters don't, just because they're not actively involved in the current season, they can show up either as through things that you have done or they have done or set in motion. Like case in point, you saw the Four Loco Gabe, right? Like those are actions and whatnot that came out of season 8, which really were set in motion for things that came out of in season 7. And we'll see them forever until, you know, we pull the curtain on Arhor'ha in, like, I don't know, 2050. So, like, that's just part of the world now.
Got it. Okay.
2050.
I'm pretty sure in 30 years... Well, I mean, maybe. My mind might be, like, mush by then. We'll see.
That's when it happens.
We'll all be old people.
Well, Laura, what? Roll for initiative. What? Don't you call me that?
I love this. Please make this happen.
Instead of AD&D, it's OD&D.
Oh, D&D.
Oh, D&D.
Oh, that's great.
Well, but yeah, it's kind of like a guiding tenet of the idea of it's all canon. When you do something, one, it's just fact. One, it's canon. Two, that means that it's up to us creatives to figure out how that affects the world and how it moves forward from there.
It's doing something.
It's doing something. Just about anything can be explained.
Oh man,
Got it.
I love that story.
OD&D?
You even made the comment when we were going through Wayfinders, like you said something like you didn't expect for, like, I latched on to the whole memory thing hard. Like the whole forgotten memory thing is so heartbreaking and I love it so much. Like, oh my god, I think it's more heart-wrenching than Sin Solus.
Yeah, that you're completely forgotten. Like, you don't even exist.
Yeah.
It's like
Just
complete
like-
erasure.
Mm-hmm.
God. Like I've seen you 600 times, but I just every time I see you, finally I forget you. But I didn't forget him this time. Oh.
Yeah, Alara's story is very, very... I like Alara's story. Like, there's a lot of really good stories that are out there. Kai's story is fun, too. Like,
So,
we just
one
create
that-
good stories, period.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the coolest things is the continuity between, like, season after season after season, like the waves of previous seasons crashing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's...
Those waves are being created.
That is something that when we first started, like way back, like 5 years ago, you want to say that we can modularize it, right? We could put these gigantic walls or islands with giant barriers of water and air between them, but we specifically wanted to make sure that to get agency, to make feel like there's weight to your actions and things you've done, that you have to have your actions crash into other plots and other stories, and which means other seasons and other adventures. Like Io, like I mentioned, like that. I was like, well, just because you didn't see it happen, don't worry about it. Like there's only a third that you'll ever see and do and whatnot.
Cool.
But the third that you choose to see and do, like it has weight. And trust me, like there's Jacob's been around for a long fucking time. Like there are things that go back to season 1, like, and now we get to talk about this that's been going on for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Wait till Goldstein makes a comeback.
I thought we dealt with him.
Nope. You let him. You've made his agency, his goals harder, but he's still alive. He's still doing stuff.
God
Is he
damn
like
it.
the slumlord?
He's such
He's
a
the he's
dick.
the Crystallis slumlord.
Got it.
But I mean,
Such a
the
dick.
power vacuum that existed. Like there's all those little things, and as long as it's focused around what you guys are doing. The stuff that you did with like Aquarius and like the Aquarius Forge and how you guys went, for lack of a better term, the thing you should never do, like go back in time, because that's like wish level activities. And like witnessing those actions. Yep, and how it smashes together. Smash. Season 7 was a bit of a whirlwind, come to think of it. Because now, like, Oakvale is occupied by Nuya. They're using that as a bastion to prepare Atlas and crew for the battle to come. Like, Cass is able to do the thing that she said she was going to do with Troy, but actually maintaining that is more harder than just claiming the victory fanfare music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Gabriel, like, fucking went to Nexus, did things, got killed, got shattered. Now he's like, there's 4 of them being the custodians to the Elder Elementals.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Everything's fine.
I just want to go on record in saying that Gabriel was in fact correct. He did stay somewhere for a very long time and he died.
Like, this is what happens.
But it's so poetic because the idea that the calamities are always at his footstep, and the moment he stood still, calamity, I mean, in a very dark way, befell him. Cracked him like a four parts to an egg, like quack. Which is just making me hungry, really. But that also means the next time the people run across, Zaratan or Leviathan or the Phoenix, and the Phoenix definitely has a lot going on these days, for sure. Like, you run into a piece of Gabriel. Like, you ran into Four Loko. Gabe is now the envoy of Phoenix, the Elder Elemental of Fire.
Oh.
What?
Well, at least he's not alone anymore.
He's not alone anymore. He's got 3 other of himself to talk to. He wasn't. That's the problem with, like, he was a very in his own head kiddo, but now he's I wouldn't say simplified, but he's able to anchor on specific things.
Yeah.
He's also a 4th, so like the Sola situation, but 2 times worse. So I mean, take that as you will.
So we could put them back together.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, I stand by the statements because like Clyde coming back, was only made possible by the players. Solus coming back, only made possible by the players. As things stand in their natural state, he stays as envoys. But if someone decides to take up the mantle for entire season to reforge the envoy, the good news is that Gabriel's back. The bad news is I don't think he's very playable. We'll have to figure that. I'd have to figure that out. That would be like a level 18 4 seasons monk, also wizard. Like,
Dear God.
Make no mistake, Gabriel is the root of Gabriel was very strong. He's the only builder that could also extract like a breaker.
Oh,
Because he was a builder of elements. Like, everyone has a builder of something. So effectively, he was building something from something else, and by doing so, he was sifting out the element.
Was it basically like he was creating chemical reactions?
Very chemical in nature. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. The good analogy is think chemistry, or like the periodic table and stuff.
oh no.
Don't worry. It's a good segue to end on because I'm sure, as you've all kind of guessed, both Luna Hope and Solus are also builders, but builders of what?
Oh my
tragedy.
God.
Builder of tragedy? Is that what you said?
No,
Buck?
Depression.
Builder of
Proxies
depression.
for Buck. Yeah, they're just proxies for Buck to just provide depression and tragedy.
That's right. Builder of depression. I'm gonna have like an Eeyore builder. Well, I guess we're gonna go on an adventure. You're all gonna die. Most of you will be sad.
Oh my God. This is not okay.
I would sing that, but I'm not. not okay.
I'm not okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the assist. Can't do it right now.
I got you, fam.
I think if I actually did it, my head would like burst out of my ears right now.
Cool.
Yeah, no, you still want me DMing for you. That's not cool.
Oh, that's right. We got like another 50 years of D&D.
Right. That would be like the next 5 minutes of D&D. Well, we killed Buck.
6 seasons of the movie.
That's direct to Netflix show, guys.
Oh my god. Could you imagine?
Yeah, I actually could. I could see that. We things are very cinematically oriented the way we do things. That's a bit of a grandiose project, though. I don't know. We did some crazy stuff. We wrote a book. We read a lot of prose.
Yeah.
True.
I think you say we wrote a book.
No, look, we wrote a book. I would like to point out that I would not have gotten through that book without the constant support and help from the community. Guaranteed. Because I have about other years of NaNoWriMo showing you what happens when I don't get it.
You keep yelling support. That's how stuff gets done.
Well, yeah. It's true.
Support!
Support! Cheer.
The more you yell, the more stuff gets done.
All right. Well, I'm going to go to a dark room and just kind of like lay down for a while. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up that's season 7 related? Oh, I kind of wanted to pivot over to Wayfinders, but I think we've also talked for like 3 hours.
You mean,
I think that
We know what he means. We know tired dudes. It's fine.
Wait, I don't even know what I just did. What?
you said Wayfinders, but we just did Wayfinders.
Oh
and
yeah, I
then
meant
the,
Relic Hunters. Correct. See, that's how bad it is right now. I said words and didn't even recognize it.
Words are hard.
They are.
They're very hard. You know, with how the Relic Hunters is like kind of set off. I mean, next Fireside, and you know, I don't know what I'm saying. If you want to do like Relic Hunters next time, just let me know, and I'll pop in. Not doing anything.
Yeah, I think we should absolutely do one because you know one thing is like it's all canon. Like whenever possible where things could overlap, like they did. I still constantly think of like how the events of like Raijin and Trimount really factor back in. Even though it was off the East Coast, the idea that Arhor'ha is part of the Forgotten Realms universe, which means that Roya, who's from the Sword Coast, like things that happen there, can filter across, and things in the high seas, they filter across. And maritime is one of those things that hasn't been greatly explored yet. So it's an opportunity for DMs like, hey, do you want to run a pirate campaign? Well, cool. Like you've got literally the world is your ocean over here. There's only like a handful of things that have been explored there. Or Westgate like that. And we set up the world specifically so that can happen. You don't get the DM like, I don't want to step on like the toes and suddenly like I've got a Jacob White v Goldstein v my guy, you know, Coin McStabbersons versus all of them. Like I'd rather just be creative. I want to spend time being creative. So there's a lot of opportunity for that. Woot. That is what that is, a boot. All right, so we're coming up on hour 3. We couldn't close this down. Any parting comments, concerns, shout outs? I'll go down the lists. For one, our glorious people that have been hanging out with Chatterbee, and anyone such as Junie, who's been extremely helpful with prompts. I appreciate you, that's been listening in. So any parting commentary there, Alexa?
Oh no, I think we covered a lot of stuff. We got all the things.
All right.
It was a good time. I miss Cass.
I miss Alara too, yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna able to play Cass until
sad, but accurate.
until Sin is done, and I don't know when Sin will be done. So,
What's that supposed to mean?
I think that both like they're a package deal. You can't have Sin without Alexa, and you cannot have Cassandra without Alara. They're just it's like Sherlock Holmes and Watson. You can't just have one without the other. They're a package deal.
I feel like Cass would just look at Sin and be like, "What do I do? What do I do with this? What am I supposed to?"
That's true.
Yeah.
Like I want to protect you. You're fine. You're just gonna kill stuff. Do you have to kill that?
Yeah.
Just-
What? Yeah.
Well, now that Ford's gone, maybe we can take that role in her life. Just quiet support.
Oh no.
Oh, on that note, so any parting comments you'd like to throw in? Now that I traumatize my players more than usual.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit of trauma every day.
After we're done with the seasons in terms of Fireside chat, I think it might be a good idea to go over the one-shots.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
Oh, yeah.
So some things, I don't think that we're going to lack for Fireside material, but one thing that came to mind was going over some of the plots, like the arcs, the people of the world. After we go through, like, here's how you can catch up with all that's happened. And I think that part of that is truly part of the one-shots too. Like, we've had a good number of them. And like, I'll need you to speak to the ones that, like, you've been DMing, especially because they're very Far Realm oriented, very, like, Cthulhu-esque, very Lovecraftian. And I think, because Alex only run the one, I could probably speak to the one with the Jekyll Hops. And I'll need
Roy.
I'll need Roy to talk about the Academy one. Yeah. So the only, like, seasonal or, like, story plot stuff that's left is then to catch up on season 8. And I kind of feel like once we do that Fireside chat of season 8, because 8 won't be lengthy, I don't think it will. We could then pivot over to Relic Hunters, and then moving forward, we can start talking about, like, here are people who we feel have shaped the world. We've talked about Gig a badillion times. Here's, like, a Gig and 101 things you didn't know about Gig. Number 1!
Number 1, Gig's actually a devil.
Yeah, Gig's a devil, not a demon. Don't call devils demons and demons devils. They get really upset about that. Cool. Pock, thanks for joining us. I know that we haven't been playing recently. I'm sure this hopefully this has been a bit illuminating because these are the seasons just before season 9.
Yes.
Any parting questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, Pock insights, Pock sites?
Pock sites.
Not particularly. If I have any questions, I'm not, like, hesitant to put them in the lobby or whatever.
Thank you for being
it's like,
that.
I will ask those questions.
Ask them questions, and @community helpers will @community help you.
Yeah, exactly. And just feel better, man.
Don't worry. Lots of water in a dark room will help that. Maybe some Taco Bell. Love me some Taco Bell. Sin. Same thing. Any parting thoughts, comments, statements? Taco Bell requests?
No. Can you give me a Crunchwrap Supreme, though?
I will. It will take a while to get there because of the Corona lockdown, but I can absolutely do that.
Yeah. Guess I'll die.
I guess I'll die. Crunchwrap free. Memento Crunchwrap. I'm surprised no one used Memento Mori. Actually, I'm not surprised. That sounds like a death wish.
Why would you be surprised that no one wanted to spar with Gig? No one wants.
What? I do? Are you kidding me?
Right. Well, I mean, if Sin's looking for ways to get out, you want to get out of your deal.
It's just like, I'm surprised no one used this thing that if you use it, you can get out of the deal, but you have to spar with Gig, which means you're gonna die.
Well,
I mean, not if you're Soul Sarah.
True.
And you cheat.
You have to be smart about it. You have to cheat. Yeah.
I remember there's so many arguments over that because it was with Farron and Dahlia in particular. They're just like, well, we can just do this. And every time Islandi's like, do you want to do it? Go right ahead. Be my guest. Please say that and go spar and then see how much you think that this deal is a horrible idea because otherwise we're all going to die.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like the idea that you have options. You just can't, the options are bad. You're always picking the less bad option, but no one's saying that there aren't other options. Just those are generally bad options. Like, don't expect a whole lot out of them.
I had a whole entire mental explanation the other day. I was sitting in my shower thinking about life, like I always do. And I was
Were you crying, though?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't crying, but I was having really deep sin thoughts. I was like, that's my thinking place about D&D. Like, I go in there and I think really heavily into, like, what does this mean? And
What's this?
Unravel the whole purpose behind Sin making that deal with Gig. I can't tell you, but I really, really came to a understanding.
What was the understanding?
Yeah, now I'm just super curious.
Was it power?
Oh, no. I mean, no, man, no, because I don't want to say it because, like, maybe it'll come up and I don't want to, like, say it now. And then when I say it, like, in character, it won't be as, like, cool. You know what I mean?
I understand, but I still want to know.
Oh shit! I don't have it. I'm not prepared though. I have to write it down.
Okay.
I have
Whenever you're ready.
I
Just
can't
to say
explain
that
it on
the general, if Sin has come to a character revelation, that's the sort of stuff that like everyone likes. Like I love like the thing that gives like DM hit points. By the way, all DMs have DM hit points. Please be kind to your DMs. That gives like DM hit points is things like theory crafting or character development or like cross character support or bonds that make you more like alive in the world that you're in. So like saying, hey, I thought about my character and this is why I think that I did the thing that I did. Like this is what like those are word of healing.
I'll write it on the sticky note after this and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It's pretty heavy.
Speaking of pretty heavy, Ford's book.
Oh, Ford's book, which
Oh. Another thing that we need to make like a physical.
Physical
thing
because I read it. It was sad.
It was really sad.
Just illustrate
I have the
it.
capability
Gigantic
to make
words. Just take your fist and like grab a pencil, and then you can only use your elbow to make the words. You can't use your wrist at all. Hi.
I kind of like. I mean, I know it's like Ford writing it, so I'm picturing it very like childish looking of like a book, but like the way I see it as like if it were to be like a physical book is similar to the book in Chobits. Like, the little cute panel thing. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to draw that too. Shit.
So there's an interesting thing that I thought about doing this because the way Ford would write it and versus like additional pages in, like it's almost so like adorably illegible. What could be Bellamy's mother actually like doing it and helping him with the book, like the illustrations and whatnot.
Oh, the feels. No.
It's true, and you can blame Ode for pieces of those too, because a lot of that tied into the events that happened in Relic Hunters to make it just that much worse.
I'm sorry, what? I was answering my little sister thing.
Oh, we're giving you credit because we specifically didn't name the Thatcher children, so like Lilith Trey got to name them, the two kids. Right. Right.
Yay. Just everything's sad and depressing, crying on the inside.
All right, I'm past my 3-hour mark. I'm gonna go like sit in a hot shower with no lights on for a while.
Yeah.
Bye guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Good. Bye guys.